Chapter 1277. You're quite confident in yourself. I like to see how you're going to surpass me. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yu Bo's face twitched as he stared at Mo Qingyun. Looking at Yu Bo's domineering attitude, Li Qingyuan immediately smiled and shook Yu Bo's arm. She said coquettishly, "Brother Bo, hurry up and tell them that you've already passed the 8th stage of the 4th floor." Past the 8th stage? Hearing Li Qingyuan's words, Mo Qingyun and Ghost Moon's expressions froze. Doubt arose in their hearts. Just now, they had been looking at the ethereal Immortal Mansion's ranking list and didn't notice any changes in Yu Bo's results. In other words, Yu Bo didn't pass the 8th stage. Now, Li Qingyuan said that Yu Bo passed the 8th stage. This was too strange. Could it be that Li Qingyuan didn't look at the ethereal Immortal Mansion's ranking list? Sure enough, when Mo Qingyun and the other two were puzzled, Yu Bo's expression instantly turned ugly. It seemed that he didn't pass the 8th stage successfully. Looking at Yu Bo's expression, Mo Qingyun and the other two smiled knowingly. Did this count as a mistake? However, Li Qingyuan's slap really hurt Yu Bo's face. Brother Bo, why didn't you pass the 8th stage of the 4th floor? I'm so disappointed in you. Isn't Brother Bo omnipotent? Why can't you pass the 8th stage of the 4th floor? Looking at Yu Bo's ugly expression, Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon deliberately imitated Li Qingyuan and ridiculed Yu Bo. Hearing Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon's words, Yu Bo's expression turned even uglier. "You two bitches, you're courting death." Looking at Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon in front of him, Yu Bo was flustered and exasperated. He directly attacked the two of them with his palm. Suddenly, an aura comparable to an immortal core stage expert erupted from Yu Bo's palm. Seeing Yu Bo's sudden attack, Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon's faces turned pale and revealed a look of panic. The two of them couldn't block such a palm. "Yu Bo, you're a man. How could you attack two women like this? Don't you think you've lost your temper?" Just as Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon were panicking, a calm voice entered their ears. Then, they saw Mo Qingyun move and stand in front of them to block Yu Bo's attack. Bang! A muffled sound rang out as Yu Bo's palm was blocked by Mo Qingyun. After blocking Yu Bo's attack, Mo Qingyun coldly stared at Yu Bo and said in a low voice, "Yu Bo, if you want to fight, you can follow me to the Immortal Slaughtering platform." Since Mo Qingyun decided to help Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon vent their anger, he didn't want to waste any more time and planned to directly kill Yu Bo. This way, not only would he be able to get rid of Yu Bo once and for all, he would also be able to intimidate the other new disciples. At this moment, as Mo Qingyun said these words, his body emitted a shocking chill. Fight on the Immortal Slaughtering platform. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yu Bo's body trembled slightly, and a trace of fear unconsciously appeared in his heart. Although he wanted to fight with Mo Qingyun, he had never thought of fighting with Mo Qingyun on the Immortal Slaughtering platform. Once on the Immortal Slaughtering platform, it would be a life and death battle. This wasn't something he wanted to see. Seeing Yu Bo remaining silent for a long time, Li Qingyuan anxiously grabbed Yu Bo's arm and begged, "Brother Bo, agree to this brat's challenge. Let him know how big the gap between you two is." Hearing Li Qingyuan's words, Yu Bo's expression twitched and became somewhat unnatural. This Li Qingyuan was really an idiot. She actually couldn't see that he didn't want to fight to the death with Mo Qingyun. But now, Li Qingyuan's words had pushed him to the heart of the struggle. If he didn't fight with Mo Qingyun, he would definitely lose face. Yu Bo had a difficult expression on his face. He was hesitating about whether or not he should fight Mo Qingyun. Everyone in the surroundings was drawn over. "Look, Mo Qingyun and Yu Bo are arguing. It seems like they want to fight on the Immortal Slaughtering platform. Mo Qingyun and Yu Bo don't seem to have any enmity between them. Why would they want to fight to the death? You don't even know this? Not long ago, Yu Bo injured Mo Qingyun's woman. It seems like Mo Qingyun wants to avenge his woman. Because of two women, two geniuses want to fight to the death. What a femme fatale. That might not be the case. As the saying goes, a mountain can't accommodate two tigers. This East Immortal Palace is destined to only have one king. I just don't know who it will be." At this moment, the crowd was filled with emotions. They were extremely shocked by the battle between Mo Qingyun and Yu Bo. Under the crowd's gaze, Yu Bo's expression became uglier and uglier. Finally, he gritted his teeth and shouted angrily, "Fine, I'll fight with you on the immortal slaughtering platform. I want to see what you're capable of. In that case, I'll wait for you on the immortal slaughtering platform." After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he ignored Yu Bo and headed straight for the deity slaying platform of the East Deity Palace. Seeing that Mo Qingyun was heading towards the immortal slaughtering platform, the surrounding crowd did not hesitate and followed Mo Qingyun. Looking at Mo Qingyun walking in front, Yu Bo was so angry that his body trembled. His expression was extremely gloomy. Then, Yu Bo snorted coldly and rushed towards the immortal slaughtering platform. Now that he had spoken, it was too late for him to regret. He could only force himself to fight with Mo Qingyun. "Brother Bo, he's really going to fight with Mo Qingyun on the immortal slaughtering platform." Seeing that Yu Bo was heading towards the immortal slaughtering platform, Li Qinyuan could not help but tremble. Her heart was filled with regret. At this moment, Li Qinyuan suddenly felt a strong sense of worry in her heart. She was very worried that Yu Bo would lose to Mo Qingyun and die at the hands of Mo Qingyun. If Yu Bo were to die, her situation would become worrisome. Recently, under Yu Bo's care, she had offended many people. Without Yu Bo's protection, she would definitely be the target of crazy revenge. Thinking of this, Li Qinyuan's face trembled. She hurried to Yu Bo's side and said worriedly, "Brother Bo, are you really going to fight with Mo Qingyun on the immortal slaughtering platform?" Li Qinyuan's words were originally just words of concern. However, when they entered Yu Bo's ears, the meaning immediately changed. From what Yu Bo heard, Li Qinyuan's words were a form of distrust towards him. She felt that he might not be a match for Mo Qingyun. When this thought appeared in his mind, Yu Bo's face darkened. He snorted coldly and said, "Humph, I've already spoken. Do you think I can still go back on my words?" Yu Bo coldly snorted. He shook off Li Qinyuan's hand and walked forward alone. At this moment, Yu Bo suddenly felt a sense of disgust towards Li Qinyuan. He did not dare to have anything to do with her. In his opinion, if it were not for this woman, he would not have been in such a passive situation. Chapter 1278. After a while, Mo Qingyun arrived at the immortal slaughtering platform and faced off against Yu Bo. "Mo Qingyun, today I will let everyone know that I, Yu Bo, am the #1 among the new disciples." Looking at Mo Qingyun, Yu Bo's expression was cold as he said those words angrily. After Yu Bo said those words, he arrogantly raised his head and said arrogantly, "In order to prove that I'm the true #1 among the new disciples, I've decided to give you a handicap. You can make the first move." Hearing Yu Bo's arrogant words, the surrounding people were stunned and immediately guessed Yu Bo's intention. He wanted to regain the face that he had just lost. "Give me a handicap? Are you sure?" Seeing Yu Bo's action, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and his eyes revealed a hint of mockery. Mo Qingyun had seen many arrogant people, but it was his first time seeing someone as arrogant as Yu Bo. Since Yu Bo was courting death, he could only fulfill his wish. "Of course." Hearing Mo Qingyun's question, Yu Bo nodded seriously. Seeing Yu Bo's nod, Mo Qingyun did not waste time talking nonsense with him. He directly struck out a palm and said, "Since that's the case, I won't be polite with you. I hope you won't regret it later." Under Mo Qingyun's palm, a wave of terrifying spiritual energy shot out from Mo Qingyun's palm. When the terrifying spiritual energy shot out from Mo Qingyun's palm, it turned into a giant blue palm, emitting a terrifying chill, and aimed to capture Yu Bo. Seeing the approaching giant blue palm, Yu Bo's expression immediately twitched and revealed a hint of fear. Too strong, this palm was definitely not something that he could take head-on. So strong. How could Mo Qingyun be so strong? Isn't he only at the peak of the early stage of the immortal fog realm? Sensing the terrifying power of the giant blue palm, Yu Bo was shocked and no longer dared to be careless. Then, Yu Bo took out a full moon lightning blade and blocked Mo Qingyun's palm. Immortal technique, silver moon in the sky. Yubo took out the perfect thunderblade and swung it in front of him, creating a dragon-shaped thunderblade light. The dragon-shaped lightning saber light blasted out and spun rapidly in the air, exuding a shocking aura. However, what shocked everyone at this moment was not the might of Yubo's saber. Instead, he had clearly said that he would let Mo Qingyun make one move, but now he had suddenly made a move to block it. This was simply going back on his word. Then, everyone felt a strong sense of disdain for Bo. This guy was too shameless. Bang! When the blue giant palm collided with the half-moon thunderblade, it immediately let out a deafening sound and produced a blinding light. However, the half-moon thunderblade was only able to block the giant blue palm for a moment before it was destroyed by the giant blue palm and turned into pure spiritual energy. After the blue giant palm destroyed the half-moon lightning blade, its attack speed did not decrease at all as it continued to attack Yubo. Seeing this scene, everyone immediately widened their eyes and looked at Mo Qingyun in awe. Facing Mo Qingyun's palm, Yubo's full-powered attack was easily defeated. From this, it seemed that the gap between Mo Qingyun and Yubo's strength was huge. Seeing the gap between Mo Qingyun and Yubo's strength, everyone's respect for Mo Qingyun immediately rose to a new level. At this moment, while everyone was still in shock, the blue giant palm directly captured Yubo and brought him to a place not far from Mo Qingyun. Looking at Yubo, who was caught by the blue giant palm, Mo Qingyun had a mocking look as he looked at Yubo and said sarcastically, "Didn't you say that you would let me make one move? Why did you suddenly make a move? Is this what you meant by letting me make one move?" Being questioned by Mo Qingyun, Yubo's face instantly flushed red as a sense of shame rose in his heart. This time, he had lost a lot of face. However, what made Yubo feel even more bitter was that even after using his full strength, he was still unable to block Mo Qingyun's palm. This blow to him was really too big. Could it be that the gap between him and Mo Qingyun was so huge? Calming down the bitterness in his heart, Yubo's expression turned cold as he looked at Mo Qingyun and said unwillingly, "Mo Qingyun, I admit that I'm not your opponent. I admit defeat. Let me go now." "Let you go? Is that possible?" Hearing Yubo's words, the corners of Mo Qingyun's eyes slightly narrowed as a strong sense of mockery appeared on his face. He said, "You'd better get it straight. This is the immortal slaying platform. You should know what it means to lose, right?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yubo's face instantly turned into a terrified expression. He said in a panic, "Mo Qingyun, I'm a genius disciple of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. If you dare to kill me, the Immortal Palace will definitely punish you severely. Are you threatening me?" Hearing Yubo's words, Mo Qingyun's face suddenly turned cold as he shouted angrily, Mo Qingyun, hate being threatened the most in my life. Today I'll kill you. I'd like to see what kind of punishment I'll receive from the Immortal Palace." Bang! After Mo Qingyun's words, a low rumble came from the blue giant palm in the air. After the rumble, everyone saw Yubo's body being crushed by the blue giant palm. When Yubo's body was crushed, a small gray figure quickly flew out from the blue giant palm. This small figure was Yubo's soul. After Yubo's soul escaped from his body, he looked at Mo Qingyun with hatred and said coldly, "Mo Qingyun, Yubo, will remember today's grudge. In the future, I'll definitely return it to you tenfold. You won't have the chance." Looking at Yubo's soul floating in the air, Mo Qingyun's face revealed a mocking expression as he pointed a finger at Yubo's soul. A giant finger with surging momentum and monstrous demonic aura blasted out from Mo Qingyun's hand and collided with Yubo's soul domineeringly. Pucci! After being hit by Mo Qingyun's finger, Yubo's soul didn't have time to escape and was shattered by the giant finger. Yubo was dead. After seeing this scene, everyone's heart suddenly trembled. They were extremely afraid of Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun was simply too powerful. Even when he killed a genius like Yubo, he was not careless at all. From the looks of it, Yubo's provocation of Mo Qingyun was a huge mistake. With Yubo's potential, if he didn't die today, he would have a chance to become an expert that could condense a star realm. Unfortunately, because of a single mistake, he offended a terrifying figure like Mo Qingyun and caused him to walk on a path of no return. Bo, Brother Bo is dead. Seeing Yu Bo's soul being shattered by Mo Qingyun, Li Qingyuan's face instantly turned pale. She couldn't believe this result. Chapter 1279. After Mo Qingyun killed Yu Bo, he looked around the immortal slaying platform and saw Li Qingyuan, who was in a daze. Mo Qingyun glanced at Li Qingyuan, then withdrew his gaze from her and walked down the immortal slaying platform. Soon, Mo Qingyun came to Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyan. He smiled faintly at them and said, Yu Bo has been cleaned up. Let's go. Okay. Gui Yu and Chu Yunyan nodded obediently. Their faces revealed joyful smiles, and their hearts were filled with sweetness. This was a real king. The moment he made a move, he could sweep through the world. What Yu Bo? What Yuan Xia? They could only become his stepping stones. Qingyun, where are we going now? Ghost Moon asked with a bright smile as she left the immortal slaying platform with Mo Qingyun. She asked Mo Qingyun where they were going next. Let's go to the misty, immortal abode first. I want to see how much progress I've made. Thinking of his recent improvements, Mo Qingyun wanted to go to the misty, immortal abode to see how much progress he had made. Okay. Hearing that Mo Qingyun wanted to go to the misty, immortal abode, Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyan immediately looked expectant. They also wanted to know how much progress Mo Qingyun had made. At this moment, the two girls couldn't help but think that Yu Bo had made it to the 7th level of the 4th level. Mo Qingyun could easily kill Yu Bo. Could he have made it to the 5th level? After a while, Mo Qingyun and the other two arrived at the misty, immortal abode again. When Mo Qingyun arrived in front of the misty, immortal abode, he lifted his foot and walked into the misty, immortal abode under the expectant gazes of the two women. Mo Qingyun entered the misty, immortal abode again. The guardians of each level were still greeting Mo Qingyun warmly. Judging from the expressions of these gatekeepers, Mo Qingyun's astonishing battle prowess seemed to have won their approval. After giving a simple greeting to the gatekeeper, Mo Qingyun began a fight with them, defeating them one by one with lightning speed. Very quickly, Mo Qingyun rushed to the 8th level of the 4th level like a whirlwind, reaching the same level as Yu Bo. The gatekeeper of the 8th level of the 4th level was not weak. He had already reached the great circle of the immortal core stage. No wonder Yu Bo was stopped here. However, the strength of a peak immortal core stage cultivator was not much of a challenge to Mo Qingyun. Peak of early stage immortal fog? After sensing Mo Qingyun's cultivation base, the consciousness body guarding the 8th level of the 4th level looked at Mo Qingyun in shock. The appearance of this consciousness body was almost exactly the same as a real person. Mo Qingyun couldn't help but have an illusion that this was a real cultivator. No, this guardian isn't a mental body. After a short moment of surprise, Mo Qingyun's expression became serious again, and he confirmed the identity of the guardian in his heart. The consciousness body guarding the 8th level of the 4th level was not a consciousness body produced by the ethereal immortal mansion, but the consciousness of a powerhouse. Mo Qingyun had a solemn expression on his face when he saw the difference in the other party. He said in surprise, "You're not a consciousness body formed by the misty immortal abode, but a strand of consciousness formed by some expert. Oh, little guy, you actually saw through it. It seems that you are indeed a little different from the others." Seeing that Mo Qingyun saw that he was not a consciousness body, the guardian laughed and looked at Mo Qingyun with interest. He said, "Boy, my name is Shering Feng. I hope you can bring me some surprises." When Shering Feng said this, he was also thinking to himself, a few days ago, that kid called Yu Bo was not bad, but that kid's strength came from the outside world and was not as solid as this kid. In that case, this kid is more suitable to be nurtured. Thinking of this, Shering Feng showed a curious look and smiled at Mo Qingyun. "Little guy, what's your name?" "Senior, I am Mo Qingyun." Hearing Shering Feng's question, Mo Qingyun showed a respectful expression and cupped his hands. Mo Qingyun, a good name. I will remember it. After knowing Mo Qingyun's name, Shering Feng smiled faintly, and his expression gradually became serious. He said, "In this case, let me see how strong you are. I hope you won't let me down. Senior, please enlighten me." Hearing Shi Feng's words, Mo Qingyun cupped his hands again and bowed. He made an inviting gesture to Shi Feng. Blood Qi Berserk. Invincible. When Mo Qingyun asked Shi Feng to fight, he did not dare to be careless and immediately used two great divine abilities to increase his battle strength. Now, standing in front of Mo Qingyun was the consciousness of an expert, not an ordinary consciousness body guardian. If Mo Qingyun did not go all out, he might be defeated in just one exchange. With the support of the two divine abilities, the aura emitted from Mo Qingyun's body quickly reached the late stage of the immortal fog realm. The late stage of the immortal fog realm? A divine ability that can increase one's cultivation level? Sensing the change in Mo Qingyun's aura, Shi Feng was surprised and became more curious about Mo Qingyun. He smiled and said, "Little guy, you're very interesting. I'm more and more interested in you." Immortal technique, mysterious ice world. As soon as Shi Feng finished speaking, he made a strange hand gesture and used a powerful immortal technique. Immediately, the entire space of the 8th level of the 4th level was filled with snowflakes and turned into a world of ice and snow. At the same time, the temperature of the 8th level of the 4th level became extremely cold and emitted a bone-piercing chill. Scorching sun shield. Under the erosion of this bone-piercing chill, Mo Qingyun did not dare to hesitate and quickly used the first move of the Immortal Fury formula. Then, a terrifying flame power was emitted from Mo Qingyun's body. Due to the impact of this terrifying flame power, the chill that had been eroding Mo Qingyun's body was immediately dispelled in an overbearing manner. What an amazing flame power! Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Shi Feng was slightly stunned and surprised by Mo Qingyun's performance. Originally, he thought that after he used this immortal technique, Mo Qingyun would be in a difficult position. One must know that the might of the immortal technique, the profound ice world, was something that could give many true immortal experts a headache. However, what Shi Feng did not expect was that Mo Qingyun could easily dissolve the mysterious ice world with just one immortal technique. This situation was too different from what he had imagined. Immortal technique, mysterious ice collapse. After a short moment of being stunned, Shi Feng no longer hesitated and used another immortal technique on Mo Qingyun. Bang! 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 Under Shi Feng's attack, the surrounding mysterious ice world immediately collapsed and produced waves of terrifying power. As soon as these waves of terrifying power appeared, Mo Qingyun felt his heart palpitate and his expression tensed up. He was sure that if he was hit by these waves of terrifying power, even if he had an immortal artifact-level physical body, he would be crushed into powder in an instant. Then, Mo Qingyun focused all his attention on evading the terrifying power. Chapter 1280. Untraceable Demonic Shadow, Body Following His Thoughts. Mo Qingyun's bloodline body technique, Untraceable Demonic Shadow, was pushed to the extreme, causing his body to turn into a cloud of fog. At first glance, there was only a cloud of drifting, illusory fog in the space of the 8th stage of the 4th level, constantly dodging the sweeping destructive power. Thanks to Mo Qingyun's all-out dodging, he was able to evade these destructive forces by a hair's breadth each time. In this way, after the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the destructive power finally receded, allowing the space of the 8th stage of the 4th level to return to normal. What an exquisite body technique! Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance just now, Shi Feng was once again surprised, and his interest in Mo Qingyun grew stronger. At this moment, while Shi Feng was interested in Mo Qingyun, a strange idea sprouted in his heart. Recently, Shi Tongqing has been thinking about accepting a disciple. Can I also accept a disciple? As this thought appeared in his mind, the way Shi Feng looked at Mo Qingyun changed greatly. He muttered to himself, "This kid's talent is pretty good. If I were to take him in as a disciple, he would be a pretty good choice." After thinking about this, Shi Feng revealed a sly smile. He looked at Mo Qingyun with a meaningful smile and said, "Little guy, let me see what other trump cards you have." Shi Feng cursed in his heart. He did not waste any more time and attacked Mo Qingyun again. Immortal technique, Flaming Bull Charge. Huge flaming bulls suddenly appeared in front of Mo Qingyun and charged towards Mo Qingyun at an extremely fast speed. As these flaming bulls charged, the space of the 8th stage of the 4th level shook, and an astonishing flame energy spread out. Facing the impact of the flame energy, Mo Qingyun hurriedly pushed the raging inferno shield to the extreme to resist the impact of the flame energy. While pushing the raging inferno shield to the extreme, Mo Qingyun also used the divine earth war shield to resist the impact of the flaming bulls. Bang, bang, bang. When the flaming bulls hit the divine earth war shield, they immediately let out a deafening sound, creating a terrifying energy storm. Heavenly Soul Heaven Sealing Fist. After using the divine earth war shield to resist the impact of the flaming bulls, Mo Qingyun's hands did not stop moving. He punched Shi Feng again. Then, a fist that exuded a terrifying demonic aura condensed above Shi Feng and blasted towards him at an extremely fast speed. What technique is this? It even contains the power of sealing? Seeing Mo Qingyun use the Heavenly Soul Sealing Fist, Shi Feng was shocked. He was greatly shocked by the power of this fist. At this moment, while Shi Feng was still in shock, the Heavenly Soul Sealing Fist came crashing down on him. Then, Shi Feng was sealed by the Heavenly Soul Sealing Fist, and his body could no longer move. After sealing Shi Feng, Mo Qingyun did not stop moving. After a few flashes, he arrived in front of Shi Feng. At this moment, Mo Qingyun thought that it was better to take the initiative than to resist Shi Feng's attack passively. Heavenly Fire, Sky-Breaking Halberd. Mo Qingyun arrived in front of Shi Feng. His hands did not stop moving, and he hurriedly attacked Shi Feng with the halberd. Then, a 1,000-meter-long fire dragon halberd light burst out from the immortal burning halberd. After the fire dragon halberd light left the immortal burning halberd, it emitted a terrifying power of fire and instantly engulfed Shi Feng. Facing the overbearing bombardment of the fire dragon halberd light, Shi Feng did not dare to be careless. He immediately attacked the fire dragon halberd light with his palm. Following that, a very strange power blasted out from Shi Feng's palm. After this power blasted out, it turned into a huge palm and met the fire dragon halberd light that was attacking him. Bang! When the halberd light and the palm collided, a loud sound was heard and a terrifying power storm was formed. Under the erosion of this power storm, Mo Qingyun quickly retreated to avoid being engulfed by this power storm. Because of the Heavenly Soul Sealing Fist, Shi Feng could not retreat to avoid the impact of the power storm and was instantly engulfed by the power storm. After dodging the raging power storm, Mo Qingyun was astonished as he recalled Shi Feng's palm attack. The strange power that Shi Feng's palm attack had blasted out was the strange power produced by the Fortune mainland's native race. How do I use this kind of power? Seeing that Shi Feng could use this kind of power, Mo Qingyun's curiosity was aroused, and he thought to himself, "It seems like I'll have to read in the Eternal South Immortal Palace's library to find out how to use this strange power." At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was pondering, his hands did not stop moving. Now that Shi Feng was trapped by the Heavenly Soul Sealing Fist, it was the best chance for him to deal with Shi Feng. He could not give up so easily. Shaozi, Heavenly Spirit Finger. In action, Heaven Concealing Finger. Middle Point Killing Finger. Upper Devouring Spirit Finger. Great Heavenly Devil Finger. Golden Snake Flashing Halberd. At that moment, Mo Qingyun unleashed all the offensive techniques he had at his disposal without holding back. In the next moment, Finger lights and halberd lights shot towards Shi Ingfeng, one after another. Soon, these finger lights and halberd lights enveloped Shi Ingfeng, bombarding him with tyrannical attacks. Ew. This brat. Facing these storm-like attacks, Shi Ingfeng smiled wryly, and a bitter feeling rose in his heart. Mo Qingyun, this brat was too brutal. At this moment, he understood a principle, and he knew what it meant to beat a drowning dog. Pucci. Before Shi Ingfeng could react, he was stabbed by the immortal burning battle halberd. Shi Ingfeng's eyes widened as he stared at Mo Qingyun in shock after being struck by the immortal burning war halberd. He had resisted with all his strength, but he was still hit by Mo Qingyun. This was beyond his expectation. However, after a short moment of shock, Shi Ingfeng smiled in surprise and praised Mo Qingyun. Good brat, you did not let me down. When the assessment of the ethereal immortal mansion is over, I will come and have a chat with you. As Shi Ingfeng's words fell, his figure disappeared little by little. Finally, he disappeared completely in front of Mo Qingyun. Good. Looking at Shi Ingfeng's figure gradually disappearing, Mo Qingyun nodded indifferently. He was very curious about Shi Ingfeng's identity. After replying to Shi Ingfeng, Mo Qingyun sat down cross-legged and adjusted his breath to recover the energy he had just consumed. He did not know what level of expert Shi Ingfeng was. Even if he suppressed the realm of his mind to the peak of the immortal core stage, his strength was still so terrifying. After a quarter of an hour, Mo Qingyun adjusted his breath, and his consumed spiritual power finally recovered. Seeing that his spiritual power had recovered, Mo Qingyun began to challenge the next levels and easily defeated the gatekeepers of the 9th and 10th levels. After defeating the gatekeepers of the 9th and 10th levels, Mo Qingyun did not stop and rushed directly to the 5th level. Chapter 1281. After entering the 5th level, the strength of the guarding spiritual body had reached the immortal infant stage. This kind of strength was already invincible to ordinary new disciples. But to the current Mo Qingyun, it was still not enough to pose much of a threat to him. Just like that, under Mo Qingyun's powerful attacks, he easily defeated the mental avatars of several gatekeepers. At this moment, Mo Qingyun looked at the entrance of the 6th level of the 5th level and hesitated. If my guess is right, the guarding spiritual body of the 6th level of the 5th level should have the strength of a true immortal realm. Recalling the strength of the guarding spiritual body of the 5th level of the 5th level, Mo Qingyun pondered and said to himself, if I go to the 6th level of the 5th level, I will definitely expose my full strength. At that time, I will have no backup plan. This is not a good thing for me. Thinking of this, Mo Qingyun made up his mind not to go to the 6th level of the 5th level. Now that he had become enemies with the 100 Change clan, Yuan Xie and Yun clan, if he did not have any backup plan, the situation would become very dangerous. Therefore, it was necessary for him to keep some backup plans. Mo Qingyun made up his mind and did not continue to stay. He turned and walked out of the ethereal immortal abode. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun left the ethereal immortal abode, there was an uproar outside the ethereal immortal abode. Outside the ethereal immortal abode. When the crowd saw Mo Qingyun's assessment result, they all widened their eyes and were stunned. The 5th level of the 5th level, this was Mo Qingyun's assessment result. Mo Qingyun actually passed the 5th level of the 5th level with his cultivation at the peak of the early stage of the immortal fog realm. This was too inhumane. No wonder Yu Bo was not Mo Qingyun's opponent. They're not at the same level. With Mo Qingyun's current strength, even in the Western Immortal Palace, he is standing at the top. Mo Qingyun is only at the peak of the early stage of the immortal fog stage. If he breaks through to the immortal dew stage, it will be terrible. No matter what, it's better not to anger Mo Qingyun. He's not someone we can afford to offend. At this moment, everyone was in awe of Mo Qingyun and decided not to become enemies with Mo Qingyun. Not far from a misty, immortal abode, A woman who was dressed very seductively saw Mo Qingyun's test results in the misty immortal abode and said with a pale face, Fifth level, 5th stage. How can he be so powerful? This woman was none other than Li Qingyuan. After witnessing Mo Qingyun's strength once again, Li Qingyuan felt as if a fishbone was stuck in her throat. She felt an indescribable grievance. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have allowed Yubo to fight Mo Qingyun. Compared to Li Qingyuan's mood, Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon were pleasantly surprised and excited. Yin Qingyun broke through to the 5th level of the 5th stage. Even among the inner disciples, few people can do it. In my opinion, I'm afraid that Qingyun's strength will be able to suppress some elders soon. They guessed that Mo Qingyun's test results would be very good, but they didn't expect that Mo Qingyun's results would be so good. At this moment, under everyone's gaze, Mo Qingyun walked out of the misty immortal abode and walked toward Chu Yunyun and Ghost Moon with a faint smile. Seeing Mo Qingyun walking toward Chu Yunyun and Ghost Moon, the surrounding female disciples immediately showed envy and wished that they could exchange positions with Chu Yunyun and Ghost Moon. At this moment, they couldn't help but admire Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon's vision. They actually saw that Mo Qingyun was extraordinary. When Mo Qingyun entered the misty immortal abode, he was only at the 3rd level of the heaven stage. With such cultivation, no matter how good his talent was, it would be very difficult for him to really grow. However, before they could recover, Mo Qingyun had grown to an unattainable level. Seeing Mo Qingyun walking toward Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon, Li Qingyuan's current mood was the same as the other female disciples. She also had a strong sense of envy and jealousy toward Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyun. Why couldn't you both be like Mo Qingyun? Mo Qingyun didn't care about the feelings and thoughts of the crowd. He walked to Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon and said, "Let's go to the library of the immortal abode. I need to read some things." Okay. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon nodded and followed Mo Qingyun and left. Following that, Mo Qingyun and the other two slowly walked out of the crowd's line of sight under their gazes. After leaving the misty immortal abode, Mo Qingyun didn't stop and directly went to the library of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. In the library, in addition to various historical books, there were also various elementary immortal arts and divine abilities. Therefore, there were still a lot of disciples who came to the library to read books. However, they were all here to read immortal arts and divine abilities, which was different from Mo Qingyun's purpose. On the way to the library, Mo Qingyun's group of 3 encountered many disciples who all had arrogant expressions on their faces. These people were basically inner disciples, and only a few of them were new disciples. Therefore, the cultivation of new disciples was limited. They couldn't cultivate immortal arts and divine abilities, so they basically wouldn't come to the library. The arrival of Mo Qingyun and the other 2 quickly attracted the attention of the crowd, causing them to point fingers at Mo Qingyun and the other 2. Look, a kid at the peak of the early stage Immortal Fog Realm actually came to the library to choose immortal arts and divine abilities. There are always some arrogant people in this world. When he suffers the backlash of immortal arts and divine abilities, he will become much more obedient. In my opinion, this kid will be sent flying by Patriarch Shi Feng as soon as he reaches the entrance of the library. Let's go and see how Patriarch Shi Feng will teach this kid a lesson. Then, a group of inner disciples followed behind Mo Qingyun, wanting to see Mo Qingyun's miserable state. Mo Qingyun did not pay attention to the actions of the people behind him. He walked directly to the entrance of the library. When Mo Qingyun arrived in front of the library, he couldn't help but be stunned and look at the old man in front of the door in surprise. This old man gave him a very familiar feeling, as if he had seen him somewhere before. When Mo Qingyun looked at the old man also looked at him with a surprised expression. The old man glanced at Mo Qingyun and revealed an amiable smile. He waved his hand at Mo Qingyun and said, "Little guy, I didn't expect you to be able to guess my identity. You've really surprised me." "So it's you, senior." Hearing Shi Feng's words, Mo Qingyun immediately guessed who the old man was. It turned out that he was the expert in the 8th stage of the 4th level. Chapter 1282. You're not here to look for me. Seeing Mo Qingyun's reaction, Shering Feng was slightly taken aback. He guessed that Mo Qingyun was not here to look for him. In other words, Mo Qingyun had not guessed his identity. He had just happened to be here. I'm ashamed to say that I came here unintentionally to read some books. I didn't guess Senior's identity. Hearing Shering Feng's words, Mo Qingyun smiled awkwardly and answered Shering Feng truthfully. In this brief interaction, Mo Qingyun had already sensed Shering Feng's cultivation level. He should be a top expert in the Golden Immortal stage. This was because Mo Qingyun could sense the same aura from Shering Feng as the God Shooter Bao. Of course, the God Shooter Bao's aura was stronger. After all, the God Shooter Bao was once a famous divine Bao on the Wild Continent. You're quite honest. That's not bad. Seeing Mo Qingyun's response, Shering Feng smiled appreciatively. He had a better impression of Mo Qingyun. Judging from the current situation, Mo Qingyun's character was not bad. He was not the kind of person who liked to lie. After praising Mo Qingyun, Shering Feng took out a token and said to Mo Qingyun, "This is a gold reading token. Take this reading token and you can read all the books below the 4th floor of the library." There were a total of 5 floors in the library. If one wanted to read books of different levels, they had to obtain a reading token of different levels. There were a total of 5 grades of reading tokens. They were Iron Reading Token, Bronze Reading Token, Silver Reading Token, Gold Reading Token, and Purple Gold Reading Token. It was obvious that the Gold Reading Token Mo Qingyun had obtained was of a very high grade. "Thank you, Senior." After receiving the Golden Reading Token from Shering Feng, Mo Qingyun revealed a humble expression and bowed to Shering Feng. After handing the Gold Reading Token to Mo Qingyun, Shering Feng glanced at the 2 girls beside him and asked, "Little guy, did you bring these 2 girls here?" "Yes." Mo Qingyun nodded. Seeing Mo Qingyun nod in agreement, Shering Feng took out 2 more silver reading tokens and handed them to the 2 women, saying, "Since they came with you, this old man will give each of them a silver reading token and let them enter the library to read." Thank you, Senior." Seeing Shering Feng's actions, Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon were shocked and quickly thanked Shering Feng. As far as they knew, new disciples could only enter the 1st floor and inner disciples could only enter the 2nd floor. Now, because they were with Mo Qingyun, they could directly enter the 3rd floor. Mo Qingyun was really influential. "All right, you can all go in." After handing the reading tokens to Mo Qingyun and the other 2, Shering Feng waved to them, indicating that they did not need to be stunned. Seeing Shering Feng's actions, Mo Qingyun and the other 2 nodded and walked into the library under the shocked gazes of the crowd. "He got a gold reading token? How is that possible?" Now, in the Eternal South Immortal Palace, apart from the elders, there are only 3 disciples who have gotten a gold reading token. They are Yuan Kong, Miao Miao, and Chen Qing. Does this mean that this kid's achievements in the future will be comparable to Yuan Kong and the other 2? If that's the case, this kid is really not to be underestimated. We have to be careful. Seeing Shering Feng's actions, Mo Qingyun's weight in the hearts of the people around him suddenly became heavier. After entering the 1st floor of the library, Mo Qingyun separated from Ghost Moon and the other 2 girls and began to read in the library. Low-grade Celestial Technique, Spring Rain Moisturizing. Low-grade Celestial Technique, Lesser Listening Mantra. Low-grade Divine Ability, Landslide. Biography, excerpts of the Eternal South Immortal Realms 10,000-Year Heroes. Under Mo Qingyun's observation, books appeared before his eyes one after another. The purpose of Mo Qingyun's trip was to find out the origin of the strange power and how to use it. Therefore, he was not very interested in the biographies of famous people, celestial techniques, and divine abilities. Since the book Mo Qingyun was looking for was not very popular, it was not easy for him to find it. After some investigation, Mo Qingyun had a general understanding of the layout of the books in the library. The front half of the library was filled with celestial techniques, while the back half was filled with divine abilities. As for the corner of the library, it was filled with all kinds of books that recorded all kinds of strange things. After discovering this pattern, Mo Qingyun specifically chose the books in the corner to read. He wanted to find the answer from these books. In fact, Mo Qingyun could ask Shering Feng, but Mo Qingyun was a little wary of Shering Feng. After all, this strange power was too strange. Before he could be sure that Shering Feng did not have any ill intentions, it was better not to expose it. After all, he was still weak. Before he could completely guarantee his safety, it was better to be careful. Therefore, it was better for him to flip through the books to find the answer. Originally, Mo Qingyun could ask the god Shooter Bao, but the Bao had been in hibernation recently, so he lost this opportunity. As for He Xian and the others, although they came from the wildlands, they left the Tianhun continent a long time ago. Therefore, they did not know what kind of power it was. And so, Mo Qingyun spent the rest of the time flipping through the books. While Mo Qingyun was flipping through the books, Shering Feng was paying attention to Mo Qingyun. He was a little surprised by Mo Qingyun's performance. This kid is actually not flipping through immortal arts and divine abilities. Instead, he's flipping through all sorts of informational books. Seeing Mo Qingyun's strange behavior, Shering Feng showed a gratified smile and was even more satisfied with Mo Qingyun's performance. He smiled faintly and said, "This boy is really different from others. It seems that I don't have to worry about his temperament. In the face of so many immortal skills and divine abilities, he is probably the only disciple in the entire Eternal South Immortal Palace who can remain calm like water." As it turned out, Shering Feng gave Mo Qingyun the golden reading medallion to test Mo Qingyun's temperament. He wanted to see if Mo Qingyun could be rational when faced with so many immortal techniques and abilities. Now it seemed that Mo Qingyun had not only completed Shering Feng's test, but also exceeded it. His talent, character, and temperament are all top-notch. This old man will definitely take this disciple. Shering Feng nodded in satisfaction after seeing Mo Qingyun's performance. He was even more determined to take Mo Qingyun as his disciple. Mo Qingyun didn't know what Shering Feng was thinking. He was currently immersed in reading. At this moment, after 3 days of nonstop reading, Mo Qingyun finally found some clues. Miscellaneous topics, the power of faith. Mo Qingyun's face lit up when he flipped through the book in his hand. This was the book he was looking for. Chapter 1283. Found it. Looking at the records in the book, Mo Qingyun was pleasantly surprised, and he quickly flipped through the book. The power of faith was also known as the power of incense. It was a power derived from deifying oneself and making weaker life forms prostrate themselves in worship of oneself and from the worship of those weaker life forms. Next, Mo Qingyun read miscellaneous topics, the power of faith, and he had a clear understanding of the power of incense. So that strange power is the power of incense that gods and immortals speak of. After learning about the strange power, Mo Qingyun sighed and muttered to himself, "No wonder every time I perfect the Fortune mainland, it gives birth to the power of incense. It turns out that when I perfect the Fortune mainland, the indigenous people there deified me and worshipped me." Unfortunately, this book does not record how to use the power of incense. Closing miscellaneous topics, the power of faith, Mo Qingyun looked regretful and put miscellaneous topics, the power of faith, back on the bookshelf. Then, Mo Qingyun continued to wander around the library, looking for other books related to the power of incense. Another 2 days passed. Under Mo Qingyun's continuous search, he searched through the entire first floor of the library, but he still did not find any other books related to incense. With no other choice, Mo Qingyun could only leave the first floor of the library and head to the second floor. But the result was the same. He still did not find any books related to incense on the second floor. Seeing that the second floor was also empty, Mo Qingyun's footsteps did not stop, and he went to the third floor. On the third floor, Mo Qingyun ran into Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon, who were studying an immortal technique. After greeting the two women, Mo Qingyun did not delay and continued to look for books related to incense. Star position condensation. Under Mo Qingyun's continuous search, he finally found another book related to incense. This book described how to use incense to condense star position. Condensing a star position actually requires the power of incense. Reading the description of the book, Mo Qingyun was shocked. The power of incense actually had such an effect. As it turned out, after one's cultivation state had reached the true immortal state, in order to condense the star positions and raise one's cultivation state, one would still need to have sufficient joss flames. For Mo Qingyun, this discovery was equivalent to a cultivation navigation light. It would allow him to prepare the power of incense in advance. Most importantly, Mo Qingyun now knew the specific use of the power of incense. Following that, Mo Qingyun did not waste any more time and continued to read the star position condensation experience in his hands. As Mo Qingyun continued to read the insights on star position condensation, he had a deeper understanding of how to use the power of incense. At the same time, he had a clear direction on how to condense the star positions. Since I found the answer, it's time to leave the library. I wonder if Ghost Moon and the others are still there? Putting down the insights on star position condensation experience in his hands, Mo Qingyun began to look for Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyun, preparing to leave the library with them. Soon, Mo Qingyun arrived at the place where he had met the two women and saw them studying the immortal art. Qingyun, are you done? Seeing Mo Qingyun come to them, Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyun smiled faintly and greeted Mo Qingyun. It's done. In response to their question, Mo Qingyun nodded faintly and asked the two women, do you want to continue studying this immortal art? No. The cultivation incantation of this immortal art is too profound and obscure. It's not something we can comprehend now. We've already memorized the first level of the incantation. We're going to go back and slowly figure it out. In that case, let's go back. After exchanging a few words with Mo Qingyun, Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyun put away the immortal art incantation and walked outside with Mo Qingyun. After a while, Mo Qingyun and the other two arrived at the entrance of the library and returned the reading token to Shering Feng. Don't you want to go to the fourth level of the library? Seeing Mo Qingyun come to return the reading token, Shering Feng was surprised and couldn't help but ask Mo Qingyun. In his opinion, Mo Qingyun shouldn't give up such an opportunity to enter the fourth level of the library. Hearing Shi Yingfeng's question, Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. He vaguely felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. He could only reply to Shering Feng, Senior, there's no need. I found all the answers I'm looking for. Oh. Hearing Mo Qingyun's answer, Shering Feng looked at Mo Qingyun meaningfully and said to Mo Qingyun in a deep voice, little guy, come with me. I have something to ask you. After Shi Yingfeng's words, he asked an elder to take his place for the time being. Yes. Hearing Shi Yingfeng's words, Mo Qingyun nodded and told Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyun to return to Qingyun's residence first. After telling Ghost Moon and Chu Yunyun, Mo Qingyun left with Shering Feng. At this moment, outside a huge cave residence in the forbidden area of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. As soon as Bai Kang got the news that Shi Tongqing had come out of seclusion, he immediately rushed here and waited for Shi Tongqing's summons. Come in. After a while, a deep voice came from the cave residence, exuding a shocking aura. Yes. Hearing the voice coming from the cave residence, Bai Kang nodded and walked into the cave residence. After entering the cave residence, Bai Kang came to an old man with eagle-like eyebrows and sword-like eyes and bowed to him. This old man was one of the three patriarchs of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, Shi Tongqing. Have a seat. Seeing Bai Kang's arrival, Shi Tongqing pointed to the stone stool next to him and motioned for him to sit down. Yes. Bai Kang nodded and walked to the stone stool next to him and sat down with a respectful expression. Seeing Bai Kang sit down, Shi Tongqing looked at him curiously and asked, King, why are you looking for me today? Patriarch, I heard that you wanted to take in a disciple. Recently, I found a good candidate for you. Seeing that Shi Tongqing was inquiring about his intentions, Bai Kang revealed a respectful expression and quickly told Shi Tongqing about Mo Qingyun's situation. Oh, there is such a disciple. He is indeed qualified to be my disciple. Chapter 1284. As soon as Shi Tongqing finished speaking, he made a hand gesture and pointed at the air in front of him. Then, an image appeared in the air. It was the image and result of Mo Qingyun's challenge in the ethereal immortal mansion. Seeing Mo Qingyun's latest result, both Shi Tongqing and Bai Kang were shocked. The fifth obstacle on the fifth level. Mo Qingyun had already reached the fifth obstacle on the fifth level. This guy, when did he reach the fifth obstacle on the fifth level? Seeing Mo Qingyun's latest result, Bai Kang could not believe his eyes. He could not accept this result. Originally, in his opinion, with Mo Qingyun's cultivation at the peak of the early stage of the immortal fog realm, it was already very difficult for him to pass the third obstacle on the fourth level of the ethereal immortal mansion. Even if Mo Qingyun wanted to reach a higher level in the ethereal immortal mansion, it was not something that could be done in a short time. Therefore, during this period of time, Bai Kang did not pay attention to Mo Qingyun's test results in the ethereal immortal mansion. However, to Bai Kang's surprise, Mo Qingyun actually reached the fifth obstacle on the fifth level in just a month. This kind of behavior was too abnormal. He did not give others a chance to live at all. Good, very good. I like this disciple very much. He has the same demeanor as I did in the past. Compared to the shock in Bai Kang's heart, Shi Tongqing was pleasantly surprised at this moment. He laughed excitedly and said, Kang, you did very well in this matter. I am very satisfied with this disciple. I also did not expect Mo Qingyun to have such amazing potential. Hearing Shi Tongqing's praise, Bai Kang suddenly felt guilty. He smiled and said, Since you are satisfied, I will bring Mo Qingyun to see you now. Okay. Hearing Bai Kang's words, Shi Tongqing nodded and decided to meet Mo Qingyun. At this moment, when Shi Tongqing waved his hand at Bai Kang, he suddenly frowned and said, With this little fellow's strength, it's entirely possible for him to pass through the sixth stage of the fifth level. He actually left the misty, immortal abode directly. He actually didn't fail the sixth stage of the fifth floor. Instead, he gave up on the sixth stage of the fifth floor. Why'd he do that? Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance in the ethereal immortal mansion, Bai Kang's eyes immediately widened. He was very puzzled by Mo Qingyun's action. After a brief moment of confusion, Bai Kang and Shi Tongqing finally understood Mo Qingyun's real intention. The reason Mo Qingyun did this was very likely because he was deliberately hiding his strength. He didn't want to reveal his true strength during the trial. This was because, judging from Mo Qingyun's current performance, he completely had the strength to pass the sixth stage of the fifth floor. He didn't fail the sixth stage of the fifth floor. Therefore, Mo Qingyun's failure to pass the sixth stage of the fifth floor was highly suspicious of him hiding his true strength. Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Shi Tongqing's evaluation of Mo Qingyun in his heart immediately improved a lot. This little fellow's mind is not simple. Shi Tongqing couldn't help but sigh. With a rueful expression, he said, In the eternal South Immortal Palace, there are many disciples with extraordinary talent. However, I'm afraid that Mo Qingyun is the only one who knows how to hide his strength and keep a low profile. According to Shi Tongqing's observation of the disciples of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, if those disciples had Mo Qingyun's strength, they would definitely risk their lives to pass through the misty, immortal mansion. In this way, they could show off their extraordinary talent and give them the right to show off. Hiding his strength. After guessing Mo Qingyun's intention, Shi Tongqing smiled meaningfully and said with an interested expression, This little fellow is very interesting. I'm getting more and more interested in him. Ancestor, in this case, I'll bring Mo Qingyun here. Seeing Shi Tongqing's performance, Bai Kang bowed to him and turned to leave Shi Tongqing's cave mansion. After Bai Kang left Shi Tongqing's cave mansion, he went directly to the East Immortal Palace to find Mo Qingyun. He was going to bring him to see Shi Tongqing outside Qingyun's mansion. The formation of this mansion can actually stop people below the genuine immortal realm. Could it be that Mo Qingyun set it up? Looking at the formation outside Qingyun's mansion, Bai Kang was shocked and carefully observed the formation of Qingyun's mansion. He could see that although the level of the formation was not high, and the materials used to set it up were not precious, the method used to set it up was extremely experienced. If this formation was set up by Mo Qingyun, then this little fellow's talent in array Dao is also very terrifying. Seeing that the formation outside Qingyun's mansion was extraordinary, Bai Kang's impression of Mo Qingyun immediately improved. He thought to himself, when I see Mo Qingyun later, I'll have to ask him about his understanding of array Dao. After Bai Kang's words, he no longer hesitated and walked into Qingyun's mansion. For Bai Kang, although the formation of Qingyun's mansion was good, it could not stop him. Mo Qingyun, this palace master has something important to discuss with you. Come out immediately. After entering Qingyun's mansion, Bai Kang used his spiritual energy to form a sound wave, which instantly spread throughout Qingyun's mansion. Of course, Bai Kang's sound transmission was very particular. It only allowed people to hear him and would not affect their minds. Therefore, even if Mo Qingyun was cultivating, he would not be affected by the sound wave. Hearing Bai Kang's voice, Gui Yu and Chu Yunyun, who were cultivating, immediately opened their eyes. Is the palace master looking for Qingyun? Knowing that Bai Kang was looking for Mo Qingyun, Gui Yu and Chu Yunyun did not dare to hesitate and walked out of the room. After walking out of the room, the two women went to see Bai Kang and reported to him about Mo Qingyun's situation. After a while, Gui Yu and Chu Yunyun saw Bai Kang waiting in the courtyard. Disciple Gui Yu greets the palace master. Disciple Chu Yunyun greets the palace master. When they arrived in front of Bai Kang, the two women showed a respectful expression and bowed to Bai Kang. No need to be so polite. Seeing the two women's actions, Bai Kang waved his hand indifferently and asked, Is Mo Qingyun not in the mansion? Where did he go? Seeing that Mo Qingyun did not come with him, Bai Kang guessed that Mo Qingyun should not be in the mansion. Palace Master, when Qingyun left the book collection pavilion, he was taken away by old ancestor Shering Feng. Hearing Bai Kang's question, Gui Yu truthfully explained the situation in the book collection pavilion to Bai Kang. Old ancestor Shering Feng took him away? Hearing Gui Yu's words, Bai Kang was slightly stunned. Then, he became excited and said anxiously, Oh no, something big is going to happen. Thinking of this, Bai Kang's figure moved and disappeared on the spot. Now, Bai Kang was very worried that Shering Feng would take in Mo Qingyun as his disciple because of his love for talent. If that happened, the situation would be troublesome. Chapter 1285. Ensure Ying Feng's residence. Have a seat. After leading Mo Qingyun to his residence, Shering Feng pointed at the stone bench in the courtyard and gestured for him to take a seat. Seeing Ying Feng's gesture, Mo Qingyun nodded in response and sat down on the stone bench. After Mo Qingyun sat down, he had a curious expression on his face. He looked at Shering Feng and asked, Senior, you brought me here. Do you have something to tell me? Seeing Mo Qingyun directly ask, Shering Feng did not beat around the bush and directly said, Little guy, this old man saw that your talent was astonishing, so I wanted to accept you as this old man's last disciple. This old man is asking you now, are you willing to take this old man as your master? Accept me as your last disciple? Mo Qingyun's eyes widened. He thought that he had misheard. Shering Feng was a powerhouse at the golden celestial stage. If he could become his disciple, he would be much safer in the eternal South Immortal Palace. To him, this was an extremely good thing. After calming down, Mo Qingyun saluted Shering Feng and said, Disciple, Mo Qingyun greets master. Good, get up quickly. Seeing Mo Qingyun's decisive action, Shi Feng revealed a gratified smile and raised his hand to help Mo Qingyun up. After helping Mo Qingyun up, Shi Feng and Mo Qingyun sat down again and started to chat. After chatting with Mo Qingyun for a while, Shi Feng's expression suddenly became serious, and he said solemnly, "Qingyun, in the test of the ethereal immortal palace, I saw you perform many divine skills. These divine skills contain too much evil qi. Where did you learn them?" Hearing Shi Feng's question, Mo Qingyun became hesitant instinctively as he thought about how to answer Shi Feng's question. After a brief moment of silence, Mo Qingyun sorted out his thoughts and spoke in a low voice. "Master, the things I learned are a little complicated. Back when I was still in the Yuandan realm, I once obtained the inheritance of a powerhouse in a secret realm of the Tianhan continent. Then, Mo Qingyun told Shi Feng some half-truths about what had happened. As he listened to Mo Qingyun's narration, Shi Feng's frown deepened. He was even more shocked by Mo Qingyun's experience. Mo Qingyun's starting point was actually so low. He actually didn't come from the ancient road. Instead, he came from a subordinate continent that was even lower than the ancient road. This discovery shocked Shi Feng quite a bit. In this way, wasn't it even more proof that Mo Qingyun's talent and potential far exceeded that of an ordinary person? Shi Feng could only imagine how much hardship Mo Qingyun had to go through in order to reach where he was now from a subordinate continent. After learning about Mo Qingyun's origins, Shi Feng was less concerned and reproachful about Mo Qingyun's learning of divine abilities. He could understand how difficult it was for Mo Qingyun to obtain such a powerful ability in a cultivation space that lacked resources. Mo Qingyun's situation was like a starving beggar who came across a luxurious banquet. He had no choice but to eat it. Otherwise, he would starve to death. Qingyun, although these abilities are very powerful, they contain a vicious aura that may affect one's mind. You must be careful when you practice them in the future. After learning about the origin of Mo Qingyun's abilities, Shi Feng looked concerned and reminded Mo Qingyun. "Yes, I understand." Hearing Shi Feng's words of concern, Mo Qingyun immediately nodded in response. After that, Mo Qingyun and Shi Feng chatted casually. They talked about the past and about cultivation. Unknowingly, the master-disciple relationship between Mo Qingyun and Shi Feng had become much deeper. Whoosh! At this moment, while Mo Qingyun and Shi Feng were chatting happily, Bai Kang hurried over. "This is bad." Looking at Mo Qingyun and Shi Feng in the courtyard, Bai Kang's expression suddenly became serious. He had a bad feeling. He seemed to be late. Mo Qingyun might have already taken Shi Feng as his master. Kang pays his respects to ancestor Ing Feng. Although he knew that he might be late, Bai Kang did not want to leave. He cupped his hands and saluted Shi Feng. Hearing Bai Kang's words, Shi Feng looked outside the courtyard and nodded to Bai Kang with a faint smile. "Kang, what brings you here today? Are you here to snatch Qingyun from me?" According to Shi Feng's understanding of Bai Kang would never come here for no reason. Now that Bai Kang suddenly came to his residence, he must have something important to discuss with him. Perhaps because he was in a good mood after taking Mo Qingyun as his disciple, Shi Feng joked about Mo Qingyun and Bai Kang. However, Shi Feng's casual joke set off 1,000 waves in Bai Kang's heart. There was nothing he could do about it. Shi Feng was right. He was really here to snatch Mo Qingyun. "Ancestor Ing Feng, you must be joking." Bai Kang laughed awkwardly. He looked at Mo Qingyun and said honestly, "To be honest, I'm here for Mo Qingyun. Ancestor Shitangqing wants to see Mo Qingyun. He asked me to bring Mo Qingyun to him immediately." "Shitangqing wants to see Mo Qingyun?" Shi Feng narrowed his eyes and quickly guessed Bai Kang's intention. He sneered and said, "Kang, as the palace master of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, you can't be biased. You're helping Shitangqing to snatch my disciple." Bai Kang suddenly felt a headache. He felt bitter in his heart. What was going on? He felt as awkward as a thief who was caught red-handed when he was about to steal something. Although he knew he was late, Bai Kang still felt very distressed when faced with this situation. Looking at the bitter Bai Kang, Shi Feng smiled slyly and waved to Bai Kang. Kang, tell Shi Tongqing to hurry up when he takes in disciples next time. Yes. Seeing Shi Feng asking him to leave, Bai Kang could not stay any longer and left Shi Feng's residence. After Bai Kang left Shi Feng's residence, he went to Shi Tongqing's cave abode without stopping. He felt extremely wronged. Since when did he, the palace master of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, become so aggrieved? When he arrived at Shi Tongqing's cave abode again, Bai Kang did not ask for permission from Shi Tongqing and rushed into the cave abode directly. After entering the cave abode, Bai Kang recounted the situation to Shi Tongqing without missing a word. What? Did Shi Feng, that old ghost, beat him to it? After hearing Bai Kang's account, Shi Tongqing's eyes widened. He was shocked by the news. Chapter 1286. Shi Feng is a carefree man. What right does he have to instruct Qing Yun in his cultivation? After Shi Tongqing pondered for a moment, a displeased expression appeared on his face as he uttered a few words of dissatisfaction. Letting him guide Qing Yun's cultivation, wouldn't that be leading him astray and delaying Qing Yun's future? Shi Feng was from the same clan as him. Both of them had entered the Eternal South Immortal Palace to cultivate together, so they knew each other too well. Shi Feng was indifferent by nature. He liked to do whatever he wanted without any restrictions, and he liked to do whatever he wanted. Although he was talented in cultivation, there was a big gap between him and Shi Tongqing in terms of imparting knowledge. The more Shi Tongqing thought about it, the more he thought that Shi Feng could not instruct Qing Yun in his cultivation. Soon after, Shi Tongqing stood up. An anxious expression appeared on his face as he said in a deep voice, "This won't do. I must find that old ghost Shi Feng and ask him to give up on taking Qing Yun as his disciple." After Shi Tongqing finished speaking, he no longer paid any attention to Bai Kang. His figure moved and left the cave dwelling, heading towards Shi Feng's small courtyard. Seeing Shi Tongqing's hasty action, Bai Kang felt bitter. Was this still the cold and indifferent patriarch, Shi Tongqing? Looking at Shi Tongqing's disappearing figure, Bai Kang was stunned for a moment. Then, he said anxiously, No, I have to ask Patriarch Bai Jianying for help right away. Otherwise, if Patriarch Shi Feng and Patriarch Shi Tongqing start a quarrel, I'm afraid the Immortal Palace will be destroyed again. Bai Kang vaguely remembered that nearly 1,000 years ago, Shi Tongqing and Shi Feng were quarreling. In their fury, a quarter of the buildings in the Eternal South Immortal Palace were destroyed by the two of them. Fortunately, everyone saw that the situation was not right and evacuated the disciples. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Thinking of this, Bai Kang did not dare to delay and hesitated. He immediately went to find the other ancestor, Bai Jianying. Bai Jianying and Bai Kang were from the same clan, and her seniority was several decades higher than Bai Kang's. It was because of Bai Jianying that Bai Kang could become the palace lord of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. Not long after, Bai Kang arrived at a mansion with the 9 temples and the 8 trigrams. This was Bai Jianying's residence. Although Bai Jianying was also the patriarch of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, he was an expert in the Tao of formations, which was different from Shi Tongqing and Shi Feng. Come in. Hearing Bai Kang's voice from outside the courtyard, Bai Jianying's voice came from inside the house. She opened the array formation in the residence and let Bai Kang in. Soon after, Bai Kang pushed open the courtyard door and walked into Bai Jianying's room. Kang, could it be that something has happened in the palace for you to come to me this time? It was Bai Jianying who made Bai Kang the palace lord of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. Therefore, Bai Kang often came to ask her for advice on managing the Immortal Palace. At this moment, seeing Bai Kang's arrival, Bai Jianying instinctively thought that something had happened in the Eternal South Immortal Palace. Ancestor, Everything is fine in the Immortal Palace. It's just that Tongqing and Feng are having a dispute because they want to accept a disciple. Hearing Bai Jianying's question, Bai Kang did not hide anything and truthfully answered Bai Jianying. Oh, there's actually a disciple that both of them have taken a fancy to at the same time. It seems that this disciple is not simple. Hearing Bai Kang's report, Bai Jianying could not help but be surprised. She looked at Bai Kang curiously and said, "Tell me, what's going on? And what did that disciple say?" Yes. Hearing Bai Jianying's order, Bai Kang immediately told her what had happened and Mo Qingyun's situation truthfully. However, after Bai Kang finished speaking, he wanted to slap himself. What? Does this kid have an extraordinary talent in array formation? After listening to Bai Kang's words, Bai Jianying's eyes immediately widened. His expression became excited, and he said in surprise, when he was only at the celestial being stage, he was able to set up a formation that could block an expert at the great circle of the immortal infant stage. This kid's talent in formation Dao can be considered as rare in tens of thousands of years. This old man has finally found a successor. Seeing Bai Jianying's performance, Bai Kang was immediately dumbfounded. His chest felt as if it was blocked by a big stone. He originally wanted to find Bai Jianying to resolve the conflict, but he did not expect that the conflict would not be resolved and the situation would become even more chaotic. There were only 3 ancestors in the Eternal South Immortal Palace now, and they were competing to accept a disciple. This was probably the first time in history. Kang, where is Mo Qingyun now? After learning about Mo Qingyun's situation, Bai Jianying could not wait to see Mo Qingyun immediately. Looking at Bai Jianying's anxious look, Bai Kang suddenly showed a bitter expression. He was extremely depressed and said with a wry smile, Mo Qingyun is at the residence of ancestor Shering Feng. Not long ago, ancestor Tongqing has already whoosh. Before Bai Kang could finish his words, he saw a figure in front of him. Bai Jianying had already left. Looking at Bai Jianying's anxious action, Bai Kang was instantly stunned and did not know what to say. What's going on? Why would the old ancestor, who is usually calm and collected, suddenly lose his composure because of a disciple? Is Mo Qingyun really so outstanding? So much so that the 3 ancestors lost their minds. Immediately, Bai Kang left Bai Jianying's 8 trigrams formation residence with a depressed mood. After leaving Bai Jianying's residence, Bai Kang did not stop and went to Shi Yingfeng's residence. When Bai Kang arrived at Shi Yingfeng's residence, he was dumbfounded by the scene in front of him. He could hardly believe that this was real. At this moment, Shi Yingfeng, Shi Tongqing, and Bai Jianying were not fighting as he had imagined. They were even fighting fiercely. At this moment, the 3 old men were showing off their strength to Mo Qingyun as if they were presenting a treasure. Little Qingyun, Shering Feng only knows divine powers and knows nothing about immortal skills. You won't have a future if you follow him. Bah, Shi Tongqing, what are you talking about? Aren't you the same? Your understanding of divine powers is equivalent to that of an idiot. Well, you 2 old men, be quiet. Don't disturb my beloved disciple, Qingyun. Bai Jianying, we are fighting for a disciple. What does it have to do with you, old man? That's right. You're an old man who collects all kinds of things all day. No one is willing to be your disciple. Bah, don't boast shamelessly. Once this old man's formation is formed, do you 2 dare to go in and have a try? At this moment, the 3 old men were not to be outdone and ridiculed each other to show that they were the strongest. Looking at the scene in front of him, Mo Qingyun could not help showing a melancholy expression. He thought of the situation in the Alchemist Alliance Guild in Lianyan City. At that time, Du Luo, Zhao Qi, and Suyu seemed to have competed to take him as a disciple in this way. Chapter 1287. Coming back from his memories, Mo Qingyun looked at the 3 old men in front of him and couldn't help but feel helpless. Judging from the attitude of the 3 old men, it seemed that it was not a good idea to take any one of them as his masters. Of course, Mo Qingyun didn't dare to boast that he would take all three of them as his masters at the same time. After all, the three of them were powerhouses at the Golden Celestial stage. It was a great fortune that one of them was willing to take him as his master. If he was greedy and wanted to take all three of them as his masters, he was afraid that he would arouse their dissatisfaction, which would be counterproductive. Mo Qingyun would not do such a thing. Immediately, Mo Qingyun turned to look at Bai Kang, hoping that Bai Kang would speak up to help him out of this predicament. However, what made Mo Qingyun speechless was that Bai Kang, who saw his pleading eyes, turned his head deliberately and pretended not to see anything. When Mo Qingyun failed to ask for help, Shering Feng and the other two old men stopped quarreling and turned to look at Mo Qingyun. It's meaningless for us to quarrel. Now let Qingyun make the decision. Let him choose who to take as his master. That's right. After all, it's Qingyun's business to take as his master. How can we make the decision for him? Qingyun, tell the three of us now. Who have you decided to acknowledge as your master? After Bai Jianying and the other two old men finished their words, they looked at Mo Qingyun with a solemn expression. Under their gazes, Mo Qingyun suddenly felt stressed, as if he was being stared at by three fierce tigers. In such a situation, he had to deal with it carefully. Mo Qingyun glanced at Shi Yingfeng's group of three and sighed. Seniors, I've already taken Ancestor Shi Yingfeng as my master before the two of you came. I can only apologize to the two of you for your kindness. After hesitating and thinking for a while, Mo Qingyun decided to take Shi Yingfeng as his master. After all, it was first come, first served, wasn't it? Ha, did you hear that? Do you hear me? Seeing that Mo Qingyun had chosen him, Shi Yingfeng smiled proudly, showing off in front of Shi Tongqing and Shi Yingfeng. Looking at Shi Yingfeng's performance, Shi Tongqing and Shi Yingfeng were both unwilling. They looked at each other and understood each other's thoughts. Then, Bai Jianying smiled brightly at Mo Qingyun and said, Little Qingyun, Shi Yingfeng is only good at cultivating divine abilities. Why don't you let him be your divine ability teacher? Let me be your array Dao teacher, and let Shi Tongqing be your immortal technique teacher. This, hearing Bai Jianying's words, Mo Qingyun was dumbfounded. Is this really okay? At this moment, not only was Mo Qingyun shocked, even Bai Kang's eyes were wide open. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The three ancestors wanted to take Mo Qingyun as their disciple at the same time. You too, seeing Bai Jianying and Shi Yingfeng's actions, Shi Yingfeng was angry. These two guys were still unwilling to give up. It's fine if these two old things don't give up, but they actually used such a despicable method. They are really shameless. Bai Jianying expected Shi Yingfeng's reaction, so she wasn't surprised. She smiled slyly and said, Old man Shi Yingfeng, don't be angry. Listen to me first. Humph. Shi Yingfeng snorted and didn't say anything else. He was waiting for Bai Jianying to give him a reasonable explanation. Seeing Shi Yingfeng's silence, Bai Jianying organized her words and said, For nearly 100,000 years, our immortal palace has been oppressed by the other two immortal palaces. It's because the two immortal palaces have people who are much more powerful than us. If our immortal palace had such people, how could we be treated like this? Shi Yingfeng's expression changed slightly, and the anger on his face eased a little. He also felt that Bai Jianying's words made sense. Seeing Shi Yingfeng's silence, Bai Jianying looked expectant. She said to Shi Yingfeng, Think about it. If Qingyun combines the strengths of the three of us, what kind of achievements will he achieve in the future? Even if his cultivation is still in the Golden Celestial stage, I'm afraid he will be invincible in the Golden Celestial stage. At that time, our eternal South Immortal Palace will no longer be oppressed. Old Phantom Demon, you don't say. Now that I've heard your analysis, it does make some sense. Shi Tongqing originally wanted to take Mo Qingyun as his disciple, so he formed an alliance with Bai Jianying. However, after hearing Bai Jianying's words, he also felt that it was a good idea. Although it's a good idea, if one person cultivates three paths at the same time, I'm afraid he will bite off more than he can chew. Shering Feng was also a little moved by Jianying's suggestion, but he still had some misgivings in his heart. We do need to consider this factor, but it's not impossible for us to give it a try. If we succeed, we will make a lot of money. Bai Jianying didn't deny Shering Feng's misgivings, but they still wanted to give it a try. After hearing Bai Jianying's words, Shering Feng put on a serious expression. He turned to Mo Qingyun and said, "Qingyun, you heard our conversation just now. What do you think about this? If you don't want to give it a try, the three of us won't force you. Your disciple is willing to give it a try for the future of the Immortal Palace." Hearing Shering Feng's words, Mo Qingyun responded without hesitation. He decided to be Shering Feng's disciple at the same time. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, they had always cultivated many paths at the same time, and they would definitely continue to do so in the future. In that case, the concerns of Bai Jianying's group were naturally unnecessary. Besides, how could he refuse to be guided by three golden immortal stage experts at the same time? Also, just like what Shering Feng and the other two had said, the three of them had their own areas of expertise and areas that they weren't good at. If Mo Qingyun was only apprenticed to one person, he would walk the same path as them in his cultivation. This wasn't something Mo Qingyun was willing to accept. Therefore, it was the best choice for Mo Qingyun to be apprenticed to three golden immortal stage experts at the same time. Most importantly, in this way, Mo Qingyun would have the protection of three golden immortal stage experts, and he wouldn't have to worry about the Yuan family, the Yun family, and the Bibian family. Good, very good. In that case, in 3 days, we'll hold a ceremony in the Celestial Palace for apprenticeship. At that time, we'll invite all the families in the Yongnan Celestial Realm to a banquet and let them see our genius apprentice. At this moment, Shering Feng's group was overjoyed. They wanted to accept Mo Qingyun as their disciple as soon as possible. Congratulations to the three patriarchs for having such an excellent apprentice. Seeing the actions of Shering Feng's group, Bai Kang walked up to congratulate them with a bright smile. When Bai Kang said this, his heart, which had been hanging in the air all this time, finally settled down completely. Chapter 1288. After discussing the details of the apprenticeship, Mo Qingyun returned to Qin Yun's mansion to prepare for the apprenticeship ceremony that would be held 3 days later. After returning to Qin Yun's mansion, Mo Qingyun briefly told Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon about what had happened in Shering Feng's residence. After listening to Mo Qingyun's story, Ghost Moon and Ghost Moon were stunned. They could hardly believe what they had heard. The only three patriarchs of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, three experts in the Golden Celestial Stage, wanted to accept Mo Qingyun as their disciple at the same time. This was too frightening. In that case, Mo Qingyun's position in the Eternal South Immortal Palace would become the first among the disciples. That was like a carp entering the dragon's gate and soaring to the sky. After briefly telling the two women about the apprenticeship ceremony, Mo Qingyun returned to his residence. Condensing the star position requires enough incense power. I wonder how much incense power I have now. Sitting on the bed in the room, Mo Qingyun recalled the description of the star position condensation experience and calculated the number of incense he had now. According to the description of the star position condensation experience, as long as he had the power of 1 million incense, he could try to condense the star position. Of course, using only 1 million strands of Joss flame power to condense the star position would only be the lowest level of star position. To condense the highest level 9 star position, one had to accumulate the power of hundreds of millions of incense, which was much more difficult. Therefore, many people chose to condense the star position before they could accumulate the power of hundreds of millions of incense. Of course, many people did not condense the 9th grade star position because they could not accumulate the power of hundreds of millions of incense, and also because their physical quality was not good enough. After all, if one wanted to absorb the power of hundreds of millions of incense, if one's physical quality was not strong enough, his body might directly explode and he would die. This was a risk that many people were unwilling to take. Thus, they settled for the next best thing and chose to condense a star position of a lower grade. More than 68.9 million. After some calculations, Mo Qingyun calculated the amount of incense power he currently possessed. However, this result greatly shocked him. The amount of Joss flame power he possessed had actually reached such an astonishing level. Close to 70 million Joss flames. Right now, I'm only at the immortal fog stage. After my cultivation breaks through to the true immortal realm, wouldn't I have a chance to condense the 9 stars? Mo Qingyun's heartbeat sped up as he thought about how he might be able to condense the 9-star positions in the future. He was extremely excited. According to the insights on star position condensation, in the history of the Yongnan immortal realm for nearly 1 million years, no one had ever condensed the 9th star position. Perhaps in the countless years of history of the wild continent, there would be some people who could condense the 9-star positions, but they were also very rare existences. If nothing out of the ordinary happened, these people who had condensed the 9-star positions would all ascend to the peak of the immortal Tao in the future. 9th star position. Mo Qingyun had an expectant look on his face. He was looking forward to the 9-fold star position. If he wanted to condense a star position, he would have to condense 9 star positions. Phew! Knowing the amount of Joss flames he had, Mo Qingyun took a deep breath and calmed himself down. He thought to himself, "For me now, the most important thing is to increase my cultivation as soon as possible." Mo Qingyun knew very well that the cultivation level of a cultivator was the foundation of one's strength. Although Mo Qingyun now had the strength of a true immortal, once he encountered a golden immortal expert, he would be killed instantly. This was the reason why his cultivation level was too low. If he had the cultivation level of a golden immortal, the outcome would not be like this. Next, Mo Qingyun got rid of the distracting thoughts in his mind and took out some God Clan blood and placed it around him. After taking out the God Clan blood, Mo Qingyun used the Devouring Gate to absorb and refine the God Clan blood. The Devouring Gate. Under the absorption of the Devouring Gate, a large amount of God Clan blood around him turned into streams and was sucked into the Devouring Gate. Then, the God Clan blood was refined by the Devouring Gate and turned into pure energy that entered Mo Qingyun's body. Sensing the pure energy that entered his body, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately refined and absorbed it. As Mo Qingyun continued to refine and absorb the pure energy, his aura became stronger and stronger. Sensing the increase in his cultivation level, Mo Qingyun calmed himself down and focused on his cultivation. When Mo Qingyun was cultivating in seclusion, the news of his apprenticeship spread and shook the entire Eternal South Celestial Realm. The 3 patriarchs of the Eternal South Celestial Palace, who had always been aloof, were going to accept a disciple at the same time. This news was too shocking. Who was so lucky to be favored by the 3 patriarchs at the same time? At this moment, everyone was filled with curiosity and envy toward this young man called Mo Qingyun. Compared to everyone's shock and curiosity, the people from the Yuan family, Yin family, and Bai Bian family had a heavy heart. They did not expect that Mo Qingyun would have such an opportunity to be favored by the 3 patriarchs of the Eternal South Celestial Palace. In this way, it would be much more difficult for them to deal with Mo Qingyun. At least they cannot do it openly. In other words, he needed a very reasonable excuse. At this moment, in the Yuan family's meeting hall, Yuan family's master, Yuan Biqing, sat at the top of the hall with a cold expression as he glanced at the people below. Everyone in the hall was silent under Yuan Biqing's cold and indifferent gaze. Everyone's brows were tightly knitted together. They knew very well that the young man who was not a threat in their eyes had gradually grown wings. Now, they had to treat this problem seriously and discuss how to get rid of Mo Qingyun. They were sure that with Mo Qingyun's amazing talent, he would be able to destroy the 3 families in 10 years or even 100 years. Therefore, it was urgent for them to get rid of Mo Qingyun. Everyone, do you have any good opinions or opinions about Mo Qingyun becoming a disciple? Yuan Biqing's tone was cold as he swept his gaze across the crowd below. He asked the crowd in the hall in a deep voice, "Master, I think it's not a good time to deal with Mo Qingyun now." That's right. The three patriarchs are now trying to recruit Mo Qingyun as a disciple. If we deal with him now, the consequences will be unimaginable. However, we can't delay this any longer. Mo Qingyun's cultivation speed is amazing. The sooner we get rid of him, the safer it will be. By the way, I have a suggestion. I heard that Mo Qingyun is a sentimental person. Maybe we can start with the people around him. If that's the case, maybe we can start with Gui Yu and Chu Yunyun. Mo Qingyun seems to value these two women. At this moment, everyone was discussing how to get rid of Mo Qingyun. Chapter 1289. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. With Mo Qingyun's continuous refining and absorption, his cultivation finally improved and entered the middle stage of the Immortal Dew stage. Seeing that his cultivation had broken through, Mo Qingyun stopped cultivating and left the five-direction small pagoda. After coming out of the five-direction small pagoda, Mo Qingyun went to Shi Yingfeng's residence to meet up with Shi Yingfeng and the others. After a while, Mo Qingyun came to Shi Yingfeng's residence. Shi Tanqing and Bai Jianying were already there. "Qingyun, you're here." Seeing Mo Qingyun come to his residence, Shi Yingfeng greeted Mo Qingyun and said with a smile, "Since Qingyun is here, let's go together." After Shi Yingfeng finished speaking, he took the lead and went to the square where the apprenticeship ceremony would be held. Soon, with Shi Yingfeng leading the way, Mo Qingyun and the other three arrived at the square where the ceremony would be held. At this time, Bai Kang had already prepared everything for the apprenticeship. "Ancestor, everything is ready." Seeing Mo Qingyun and the other three arrive, Bai Kang quickly greeted them and reported the progress of the arrangement. After reporting the progress of the matter, Bai Kang led Shi Yingfeng and the other two to the top of the square. As for Mo Qingyun, he was brought to the altar by an elder to carry out some of the rituals of the apprenticeship ceremony. Looking at Mo Qingyun on the altar, the surrounding people were curious and wanted to see what was different about Mo Qingyun. When the people were looking at Mo Qingyun curiously, a group of people looked very cold. They were the people from the Yuan family, the Yun family, and the Baibian family. At this moment, when Yuan Biqing and the others were looking at Mo Qingyun coldly, an arrogant-looking young man came over. Yuan Kong greets patriarch and elders. The young man came to the side of Yuan Biqing and the others. With a respectful expression, he bowed to them. Seeing the arrival of this young man, Yuan Biqing and the others revealed gratified expressions. They smiled at the young man and said, "It's Connor. How's your breakthrough to the true immortal realm?" It turned out that this arrogant young man was one of the three great geniuses of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, Yuan Kong. Reporting to the family head, "I did not attempt to break through to the true immortal realm during this closed-door training." Yuan Kong shook his head in response to Yuan Biqing's question. He said, "I had originally planned to enter secluded cultivation to attempt a breakthrough to the true immortal realm. However, on the day before I entered secluded cultivation, I heard from Master that the Three Realms Immortal Gathering might be held soon. As a result, I gave up on attempting a breakthrough." Three Realms Immortal Gathering. Yuan Biqing and the others were startled. They didn't understand what Yuan Kong meant, so they looked at him in confusion. In their opinion, even if the Three Realms Immortal Gathering was going to be held, it didn't seem to have anything to do with Yuan Kang's breakthrough to the true immortal realm. Seeing their expressions, Yuan Kong put on a solemn expression and said in a deep voice, "The Three Realms Immortal Gathering this time is different from the previous ones. The person who wins first place will be rewarded with 10 million streams of incense power. The person who wins second place will also be rewarded with 3 million streams of incense power. Everyone who enters the top 10 will be rewarded with 1 million streams of incense power. 10 million streams of incense power as a reward." Yuan Biqing and the others shuddered when they heard Yuan Kang's words. They were quite shocked by Yuan Kang's words. If Yuan Kang won first place and received 10 million streams of incense power, he would have a chance to condense a 4th grade star position. If that was the case, Yuan Kang's breakthrough to the true immortal realm at this time was indeed an unwise choice. Since that's the case, Kang, you must perform well in this 3 realms immortal gathering. After understanding Yuan Kang's plan, Yuan Biqing revealed a gratified expression and instructed Yuan Kang. As the number 1 genius of the Yuan family, Yuan Kang had always been the pride of the Yuan family. If Yuan Kang could condense a 4th grade star position, he would definitely be valued by the Eternal South Immortal Palace. At that time, they would have less to worry about when they killed Mo Qingyun. Yuan Kang nodded indifferently in response to Yuan Biqing's advice. He looked at Mo Qingyun and asked, "Family head, is that guy Mo Qingyun? Is he the one who killed clan brother Yuan Xie and the others?" From Yuan Kang's words, it seemed that he also knew about the conflict between Mo Qingyun and the Yuan family. "Yes, it's that guy." Hearing Yuan Kang mention Mo Qingyun, Yuan Biqing's face instantly turned ugly. His gaze became even colder as he said, darkly, "It's just that I didn't expect this kid's luck to be so good." He actually caught the attention of all 3 ancestors at the same time. Humph, a guy in the immortal fog stage. No matter how powerful he is still a rookie. He is still too young. Looking at Mo Qingyun being taken in as a disciple by the 3 great ancestors, Yuan Kang similarly revealed an envious expression as intense jealousy arose in his heart. As one of the 3 geniuses of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, Yuan Kang had never been favored by any of the patriarchs. He was only accepted as a nominal disciple by Bai Kang. In this way, the difference in status between him and Mo Qingyun immediately became obvious. How could Yuan Kang accept this kind of thing? Thinking of this, Yuan Kang's expression became colder and colder, and his killing intent towards Mo Qingyun intensified. Not to mention that Mo Qingyun had become enemies with the Yuan family. He could not accept that Mo Qingyun's status would suppress him in the future. Yuan Kang was the disciple of the Palace Master of the Eternal South Immortal Palace and one of the 3 geniuses of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. How could he be suppressed by a guy in the immortal fog stage? Then, Mo Qingyun completed the whole apprenticeship ceremony under everyone's gaze. 3 patriarchs. Mr. Mo became your disciple at such a young age. He must be very powerful. 3 patriarchs. I beg you to let Mr. Mo show us his skills so that we can see Mr. Mo's elegance. Yes, let Mo Qingyun show us his strength so that we can broaden our horizons. At this moment, the people from the big families and some elders of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, who came to congratulate them, were all looking forward to it. Seeing the people's actions, Shering Feng and the other 2 looked at each other and agreed that it was time to let Mo Qingyun show his skills. This wasn't because they wanted to show off Mo Qingyun, but because they felt that letting Mo Qingyun reveal some of his strength and potential could also solidify his position. If Mo Qingyun did not show anything, many people would be dissatisfied with him becoming the disciple of the 3 patriarchs. Qingyun, what do you think? Although Shering Feng and the other 2 wanted Mo Qingyun to show his skills, they still asked for Mo Qingyun's opinion and if he was willing to show his skills. If Mo Qingyun was not willing, they would not force Mo Qingyun. I am willing to give it a try. Mo Qingyun was well aware of Shering Feng and the other 2's thoughts, so he nodded in agreement. Chapter 1290. Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Shering Feng and the other 2 were gratified and nodded with smiles. In their view, they could take this opportunity to understand Mo Qingyun's strength again. Although they already knew Mo Qingyun's strength from the video of the ethereal immortal mansion, the guarding spiritual body couldn't be compared with a human after all. They still didn't know what kind of performance Mo Qingyun would have when he fought with other cultivators. Looking at Mo Qingyun standing in the open area, Shering Feng and the other 2 didn't hesitate at all. They immediately joined forces to set up a boundary to prevent the spiritual power from leaking out during the battle. With the strength of Shi Ingfeng and the other two joining forces, it was very fast to set up a defensive boundary. In a short while, the defensive boundary was completed. Seeing that the defensive boundary was set up, Bai Kang glanced at the crowd with a faint smile and said, "Family heads present. If there are juniors in your family who are willing to show their skills, you can let them exchange pointers with Qingyun." Hearing Bai Kang's words, the square suddenly became lively, and people of various families were talking to each other. Mo Qingyun is only at the intermediate stage of the immortal fog realm. Even if we send juniors to exchange pointers with him, we can't send those whose cultivation is too high. Yes, Mo Qingyun's identity is extraordinary now. If he is hurt in the exchange, it won't be good. In my opinion, let's send a junior at the early stage of the immortal Du realm to test Mo Qingyun's depth first. After a round of discussion, they unanimously approved of the strength of the juniors they were sending out. At this time, the Meng family, a middle-ranked family, took the lead to send out a family member. I, Meng Chun, am willing to fight with Mr. Mo. I hope Mr. Mo can give me some advice. The junior of the Meng family was wearing blue clothes and holding a blue treasure sword, exuding an aura of the early stage of the immortal Du realm. Seeing the junior of the Meng family enter the boundary, some families began to discuss and praise Meng Chun. From the looks of it, this Meng Chun's talent should be pretty good, and he should have some reputation in some of the clans. However, with his little bit of strength in front of the current Mo Qingyun, it was really not enough. "Young Master Meng, you're a guest from afar. I'll let you make the first move." Looking at Meng Chun, who was confronting him, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and made an inviting gesture. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Shi Ingfeng and the other two smiled appreciatively. They were very satisfied with Mo Qingyun's action. Mo Qingyun's actions not only showed respect to the guest, but also showed his demeanor as the host. "Mr. Mo, are you going to fight me empty-handed? Why don't you show me your magic treasures?" Seeing that Mo Qingyun didn't intend to use the magic weapon, Meng Chun frowned slightly and urged in a somewhat unhappy tone. As far as he was concerned, Mo Qingyun was looking down on him and humiliating him by not using any Dharma treasures. "There's no need." In response to Meng Chun's request, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and shook his head. He made an inviting gesture and said, "Young Master Meng, please." Seeing that Mo Qingyun wasn't willing to use his magic weapon, Meng Chun didn't say anything more to Mo Qingyun. He waved the long saber in his hand and slashed at Mo Qingyun. Immortal technique, dragon elephant overbearing saber. Meng Chun didn't hold back from the start. He directly used an overbearing immortal technique and slashed out a violent and domineering spiritual energy. This spiritual energy came out from Meng Chun's saber and turned into an elephant with dragon horns. It quickly charged towards Mo Qingyun. Seeing Meng Chun's action, everyone's expression changed slightly. They could roughly guess why Meng Chun was doing this. It seemed that Mo Qingyun's action of not using his weapon had angered Meng Chun and made him unwilling to show mercy. Then, some people who didn't know Mo Qingyun's strength looked at Mo Qingyun nervously. In their opinion, with Mo Qingyun's strength at the intermediate stage of the immortal fog realm, it would be very difficult for him to take Meng Chun's saber. However, Mo Qingyun's next performance made everyone dumbfounded. Facing Meng Chun's saber, Mo Qingyun just casually raised his right hand and lightly patted the dragon elephant that was approaching him at an extremely fast speed. Bang! Under Mo Qingyun's pat, the dragon elephant that was surging with momentum was instantly dispersed by him. Mo Qingyun didn't rush to attack after dispersing the dragon elephant that was attacking him. Instead, he looked at Meng Chun indifferently and said, "Young Master Meng, although your talent is not bad, with your current realm, you still can't control this immortal technique. I advise you not to practice it, in case it causes irreparable damage to your mind." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Meng Chun's expression couldn't help but tremble. It was as if someone had poked his vital point. Seeing Meng Chun's reaction, Mo Qingyun knew that he had guessed correctly. He said, "Young Master Meng, when you used this immortal technique just now, the dragon elephant's spiritual energy was agitated and chaotic. I think your mind should have been injured, and you were just forcefully controlling the dragon elephant, right?" "You? How did you know?" Seeing that Mo Qingyun saw through him at a glance, Meng Chun's expression was shocked again. His expression revealed a look of horror. Mo Qingyun's eyesight was too frightening. In the past, when he used this immortal technique, even the patriarch of the Meng family didn't notice the abnormality. Who would have thought that Mo Qingyun would be able to see through it with just a glance? His observational skills were too terrifying. "Young Master Meng, you have lost. Please." Looking at the shocked Meng Chun, Mo Qingyun made an inviting gesture to him and said, "If you trust me, don't practice this immortal technique for the time being. Go and collect the soul infatuation grass, soul marrow stone crystal essence, clear heart dragon jade water. Then find an alchemist to help you refine a hollow jade, soul nourishing immortal pill. When you refine the hollow jade soul nourishing immortal pill, your mind will be healed." Thump, thump, thump. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Meng Chun immediately took a few steps back. He looked at Mo Qingyun with even more shock in his eyes. What Mo Qingyun said just now was exactly the same as what the immortal alchemist he had visited said. Could it be that Mo Qingyun also knew alchemy? Seeing Meng Chun's performance, everyone was also shocked at this moment. They guessed that Mo Qingyun's words should be true. Otherwise, with Meng Chun's early-stage immortal dew state, he shouldn't have made such a performance. Compared to the shock of the others, Shi Feng and the other two were more surprised than shocked at this moment. Not only did this kid see Meng Chun's hidden danger at a glance, but he also knows how to resolve it. Although I haven't heard of those immortal herbs, I have a faint feeling that Qingyun's pill recipe should be correct. Could it be that this kid Qingyun also knows alchemy? If that's really the case, then it's really too frightening. After the apprenticeship ceremony, we must ask him in detail. If he's really good at alchemy, then we have really picked up a treasure. At this moment, the way Shi Feng and the other two looked at Mo Qingyun immediately changed dramatically. Chapter 1291. Young Master Mo, thank you for your pointers. I accept my loss wholeheartedly. Seeing Mo Qingyun's powerful strength and Mo Qingyun's action of repaying kindness with evil, Meng Chun showed an expression of admiration. After Meng Chun finished speaking, he did not continue to stay and turned to walk out of the bounded domain. Seeing Meng Chun's action, everyone was silent and looked at Mo Qingyun with some changes in their eyes. It was easy to defeat a person, but it was not easy to make the other party admit defeat. Now, Mo Qingyun could make Meng Chun perform like this. Not to mention his strength. This alone was enough to make people admire him. I, Jiang Jiawei, would like to learn from Mr. Mo's skills. I would like to ask Mr. Mo for advice. As soon as Meng Chun walked out of the bounded domain, a young man entered the bounded domain and modestly bowed to Mo Qingyun. The strength of this young man was much stronger than Meng Chun and had reached the peak of the immortal dew stage. Seeing that Jiang Jiawei was going to fight with Mo Qingyun, those who were not familiar with Mo Qingyun's expression suddenly became tense. With such a big gap in strength, could Mo Qingyun still win? Do you think Mo Qingyun can still win this time? I think it is a little difficult. Even if Mo Qingyun's talent is extraordinary, it is not easy to fight with someone who is at a higher level. I also think it is very difficult. Jiang Jiawei is the first genius of the Jiang family for nearly 1,000 years. His strength should not be underestimated. It is difficult for Mo Qingyun to defeat him. In this way, I am even more curious about the next battle. Seeing that Jiang Jiawei was going to fight with Mo Qingyun, the surrounding people immediately looked forward to seeing how Mo Qingyun would perform. Young Master Jiang, please. Looking at Jiang Jiawei, who was confronting him, Mo Qingyun still looked calm and stretched out his right hand gracefully. As soon as Mo Qingyun made this move, he immediately displayed the demeanor of a grandmaster, giving people an unfathomable feeling. All right, seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Jiang Jiawei did not act pretentiously. He waved the long spear in his hand and stabbed towards Mo Qingyun. Immortal technique, Overlord Apocalypse. Jiang Jiawei's spear thrust out and immediately blasted out a violent spiritual energy, which condensed into a man wearing a golden crown on his head. When this man with a golden crown appeared, he gave off the aura of a king. He brandished his spear and stabbed towards Mo Qingyun. A very domineering immortal technique. It's a pity that it lacks some battle intent, making this spear seem imperfect. Facing Jiang Jiawei's spear, Mo Qingyun revealed a regretful expression and felt that it was a pity. Judging from Jiang Jiawei's attack, he was indeed deeply immersed in this immortal technique and could already control it skillfully. However, the only unfortunate thing was that when Jiang Jiawei executed this immortal art, it only possessed the form and not the spirit, because it lacked battle intent. Destroy. As Mo Qingyun shook his head, he blasted his palm towards the man with the golden crown, blasting out an even more majestic spiritual energy. As soon as this spiritual energy blasted out, it was like a lion and a ferocious tiger, rushing towards the man with the golden crown. Bang, bang, bang. Then, under Mo Qingyun's palm strike, the golden crown man began to crumble rapidly. Soon, the man with the golden crown dissipated, turning into a pure spiritual energy that floated between heaven and earth. Just a casual palm was able to dissolve Jiang Jiawei's full-force attack. The gap between Mo Qingyun and Jiang Jiawei was immediately revealed. I lost. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Jiang Jiawei immediately knew that the gap between him and Mo Qingyun was too big. Even if he continued to fight with Mo Qingyun, he would only be humiliating himself. There was no chance for him to win at all. After Jiang Jiawei admitted defeat, he revealed a humble expression and looked at Mo Qingyun, asking for advice. Mr. Mo, do you have any good suggestions about the immortal art I just used? You've already mastered that immortal art very well. After executing it, it only lacked a bit of spirit. In response to Jiang Jiawei's request, Mo Qingyun did not keep it to himself. He explained his own opinion and said, in my opinion, if you infuse some battle intent into this immortal art when you execute it, it should be able to raise its power by a few levels. Battle intent. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Jiang Jiawei's eyes immediately lit up as if he had been enlightened. The doubts in his heart were immediately resolved. Immediately, Jiang Jiawei closed his eyes and stood on the spot to comprehend the battle intent. He tried to perfect the power of this immortal art. Seeing Jiang Jiawei's actions, Mo Qingyun did not disturb him. He just watched silently from his side. While Jiang Jiawei was comprehending the battle intent, the surrounding people held their breaths and revealed expressions of anticipation. They wanted to see if Jiang Jiawei would be able to raise the power of this immortal art after listening to Mo Qingyun's advice. At this moment, everyone's curious eyes were fixed on Jiang Jiawei, who was in the bounded domain. Fight to the death. A strong battle intent was suddenly released from Mo Qingyun's body and oppressed Jiang Jiawei's body. Under the oppression of Mo Qingyun's battle intent, Jiang Jiawei's body immediately trembled and his comprehension of the battle intent became clearer. Then, Jiang Jiawei's body began to condense the battle intent. His aura instantly became several times stronger. With Mo Qingyun's help, he finally found the way to master the battle intent. Seeing that Jiang Jiawei had grasped the method to condense the battle intent, Mo Qingyun withdrew the battle intent and stood to the side to watch Jiang Jiawei silently. Immortal art, Overlord's devastation. After successfully condensing the battle intent, Jiang Jiawei did not hesitate and once again stabbed forward with his spear. Suddenly, a man wearing a golden crown quickly condensed. He emitted the aura of a king and a terrifying battle intent. After the man with the golden crown appeared, he stabbed forward with his spear domineeringly, giving off an indomitable aura. It was as if the man with the golden crown spear would destroy everything in front of him, and no one would be able to withstand it. After seeing this, the surrounding people were instantly dumbfounded. Their expressions revealed intense shock. After Mo Qingyun's guidance, the power of Jiang Zhou's spear had increased by more than 5 times. This kind of increase was simply too frightening. However, what shocked the crowd even more was Mo Qingyun's guidance ability. With just a few words, he could increase a person's battle strength by several times. It was probably not easy for an expert in the Golden Celestial stage to do so. Once such a person truly matured, how terrifying would he be? At this moment, everyone finally understood why Mo Qingyun was so different from the rest and how outstanding he was. Thank you, Mr. Mo, for your guidance. Please accept my bow. With the help of Mo Qingyun, Jiang Zhou successfully comprehended the battle intent, and his strength had increased by several times. He immediately knelt down and bowed to Mo Qingyun. As far as he was concerned, Mo Qingyun's actions from before weren't the slightest bit inferior to imparting knowledge. Chapter 1292. Young Master Jiang, please get up. We're just learning from each other. You don't have to do this. Seeing Jiang Zhou's action, Mo Qingyun was also surprised and hurriedly helped him up. He had instructed Jiang Zhou and the others as a form of hospitality. He didn't expect Jiang Zhou to do this. With the help of Mo Qingyun, Jiang Zhou stood up and looked at Mo Qingyun seriously, saying, Mr. Mo, this may be a small matter for you, but for me, it's a big deal. Jiang Zhou paused and said, just now, not only did you correct the direction of my cultivation, but you also helped me comprehend the battle intent. Such kindness is no less than teaching and preaching. You can already be considered as half a master of mine, so you are absolutely qualified to receive my bow. Hearing Jiang Zhou's words, Mo Qingyun didn't say anything more. He smiled faintly and said, Young Master Jiang, you're too serious. This is just a mutual help between friends. With my current cultivation, I'm not qualified to be your master. Go and review the fighting spirit just now, so that you can have a deeper understanding of it. Well, in this case, I'll leave first. I'll visit Mr. Mo another day. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Jiang Zhou no longer hesitated and turned to walk out of the bounded domain. Mo Qingyun was right. He had just grasped the fighting spirit, so he really needed to review it. Seeing that Jiang Zhou and Meng Chun had benefited from the fight with Mo Qingyun, the others couldn't sit still. Then, one after another, the juniors of the families came to fight with Mo Qingyun, hoping to get some guidance from Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun satisfied all their requests, either giving them the correct guidance or helping them break through their bottlenecks. Because of Mo Qingyun's actions, his evaluation in the hearts of the families suddenly reached an unprecedented height. As the personal disciple of the 3 patriarchs of the Eternal South Immortal Palace, Missouri Qingyun's patience to guide others was really admirable. I, Lu Qin, have never admired anyone in my life. From now on, I only admire Mo Qingyun. Yes, I've never seen a disciple of the Eternal South Immortal Palace as amiable as Mo Qingyun. No wonder Mo Qingyun could become the disciple of the 3 patriarchs. It's rare to see someone as generous as him. This should be the so-called invincible benevolence. Although Mo Qingyun's current cultivation isn't high, he's still able to convince us. At this moment, the members of the various large clans felt admiration for Mo Qingyun. They couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Seeing the change in the different families' attitudes toward him, the Yuan family, the Yin family, and the families' twos. This was not something they wanted to see. This Mo Qingyun is too cunning. He's using this opportunity to win people's hearts. We must not let him succeed. Seeing Mo Qingyun's behavior, Yuan Biqing's expression darkened. He said to Yuan Mo, Yuan Kong, go play with Mo Qingyun and teach him a lesson so that he can't continue to spar with others. In Yuan Biqing's opinion, every time Mo Qingyun sparred with a younger generation of a family, he would be able to gain the favor of the family. If this continued, it would be a very scary thing. By then, all the major families in the Eternal South Immortal Domain would be indebted to Mo Qingyun. If Mo Qingyun befriended all the major families in the Eternal South Immortal Domain, the three families would be courting death if they went against Mo Qingyun. Therefore, they must stop Mo Qingyun and stop him from continuing. All right. After receiving Yuan Biqing's order, Yuan Kong no longer hesitated and walked into the barrier. Yuan Kong, is he going to fight with Mo Qingyun? Seeing Yuan Kong enter the barrier, everyone was shocked. They were shocked by Yuan Kang's action. Yuan Kong was a quasi-true Immortal Realm expert. Even if he was facing a true Immortal Realm expert who had not condensed a star, he still had the strength to fight. Such a person actually wanted to make a move on Mo Qingyun. It was really too shameless. Quasi-true Immortal Realm? The Yuan family is getting more and more shameless. They actually sent out such a junior. I'm afraid you guys don't know. Yuan Kong is one of the three geniuses of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. He's not just a junior of the Yuan family. In my opinion, Yuan Kong is purposely suppressing Mo Qingyun by fighting with Mo Qingyun. So what if Mo Qingyun is no match for him? What they're doing now will only make people look down on him even more. Everyone developed a strong sense of disdain towards Yuan Biqing's performance, feeling that Yuan Kong, this fellow, was too excessive. If Yuan Biqing were to find out that his actions had backfired, he would not feel good about it. Yuan Kong wants to fight with Mo Qingyun? Seeing Yuan Kong walk into the barrier, the faces of Shi Yingfeng and the other two turned solemn, with a trace of displeasure mixed in. In their opinion, it was a good opportunity for Mo Qingyun to build up his reputation. Yuan Kong did not see the big picture by coming out to mess things up. Such an action was no less than fighting among themselves in front of outsiders. It was an idiotic action to give others a chance to laugh at him. Immediately, Shi Yingfeng and the other two looked displeased and turned to look at Bai Kang. Seeing Shi Yingfeng and the other two's expressions, Bai Kang could not help but tremble. He had a bad feeling in his heart. He could tell that Yuan Kang's current actions had already caused the three patriarchs to be dissatisfied with him. When Bai Kang found out about this, he looked at Yuan Kong with dissatisfaction in his eyes. He needed to consider his relationship with Yuan Kong carefully. Perhaps it was a wrong decision to take Yuan Kong as an in-name disciple. Yuan Kong did not know that his actions had made the higher-ups of the Eternal South Immortal Palace unhappy. If he knew that his actions would cause such consequences, he would not have done it. Inside the barrier. Junior brother Mo, I did not expect someone like you to appear in the Eternal South Immortal Palace while I was in seclusion. Sizing up Mo Qingyun in front of him, Yuan Kong smiled coldly and looked at Mo Qingyun mockingly. He said, Junior brother Mo must have extraordinary strength to be able to gain the favor of the three ancestors. Next, let me have a taste of your strength. I can't compare with senior brother Yuan. Senior brother Yuan, you bullied me, a junior brother in the intermediate immortal fog realm with your quasi-true immortal realm cultivation. I really admire your ability. In response to Yuan Kang's words, Mo Qingyun sneered at him with a mocking expression. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yuan Kang's face darkened, revealing some embarrassment and anger. Chapter 1293. Junior brother Mo, you don't have to be so humble. Just now, when you were teaching those young masters, I saw it. Yuan Kong calmed down the anger in his heart. He took out a 9-section staff and rushed towards Mo Qingyun, saying, I hope that junior brother Mo will not be stingy and teach me a thing or two. Immortal technique, Heavenly Blood Swamp Serpent. Under Yuan Kang's wave of the 9-section staff, a dense blood-red spiritual energy suddenly blasted out and quickly enveloped Mo Qingyun. This blood-red spiritual energy enveloped Mo Qingyun. Within a radius of 10 meters around Mo Qingyun, it instantly turned into a blood-red swamp. Then, in this blood-red swamp, huge serpents appeared one after another. These serpents had a very strong aura. Each of them was at the level of a quasi-true immortal, giving people a very strong sense of oppression. Hiss, 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 looking at Mo Qingyun in front of them. These serpents spat out their tongues and quickly surrounded Mo Qingyun. Soon, Mo Qingyun's path was blocked by these serpents. Seeing these serpents blocking his path, Mo Qingyun did not dare to be careless. He quickly took out the immortal burning battle halberd. Heavenly Flames, sky-breaking halberd. Mo Qingyun took out the immortal burning battle halberd and blasted towards one of the serpents, blasting out a 1,000-meter-long fire dragon halberd light. Then, this 1,000-meter-long fire dragon halberd light collided with the serpent. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The collision between the fire dragon halberd light and the serpent created a shocking spiritual energy storm. Under the impact of this spiritual energy storm, the serpents behind stopped and were unable to move forward. After seeing this scene, Mo Qingyun didn't dare to hesitate in the slightest and hurriedly rushed into the spiritual energy storm. To Mo Qingyun, although this spiritual energy storm was very strong, it could not cause him much harm. Compared to being trapped by the flood serpents, enduring the impact of this spiritual energy storm was the best choice. This was because once Mo Qingyun was surrounded by those serpents, he would definitely be severely injured. With a few flashes, Mo Qingyun passed through the storm of spiritual energy and avoided being besieged by the serpents. Seeing Mo Qingyun pass through the spiritual energy storm, the surrounding people were shocked. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Mo Qingyun was actually able to withstand the impact of the spiritual energy storm and directly pass through it. Moreover, he didn't suffer any serious injuries. This performance was too shocking. It should be known that from the aura of this spiritual energy storm, it was enough to cause the blood and qi of a quasi-true immortal to churn. However, Mo Qingyun, who was merely at the intermediate stage of the immortal fog realm, was able to do this. Wasn't this extremely strange? After seeing everyone's reaction, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly and thought of a very important question. Previously, he didn't challenge the 5th and 6th levels of the ethereal immortal mansion because he wanted to hide part of his strength. At this moment, if he were to fight with Yuan Kong with all his strength, wouldn't his previous efforts be in vain? After thinking about this, Mo Qingyun made up his mind and decided not to fight with Yuan Kong with all his strength for the time being. Then, a faint smile appeared on Mo Qingyun's face as he quickly retreated outside the barrier. Mo Qingyun? Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Yuan Kang's expression was immediately stunned. He looked at Mo Qingyun in surprise and couldn't say a word. Mo Qingyun actually ran away? Did he admit defeat? However, seeing Mo Qingyun retreat directly, Yuan Kong didn't feel any joy in his heart. On the contrary, he felt that he had been played. Just now, Yuan Biqing had given him the task to stop Mo Qingyun from instructing the juniors of the various big families. However, now that he had completed the task, he felt that he had done something unnecessary. It seemed that even if he didn't fight with Mo Qingyun would still leave and not fight with others. Senior brother Yuan Kong, I have used up a lot of my spiritual energy in the battle with the other young masters. I'm afraid that I can't continue to fight with you. Seeing Yuan Kang's surprised expression, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and said apologetically, "If senior brother Yuan Kong really wants to fight, why don't you wait a few more months until I've recovered to my peak state?" Wait a few more months? Would it take that long to recover his spiritual energy? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, everyone smiled bitterly and didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Mo Qingyun's words. Mo Qingyun was too cunning. His current action was obviously delaying and didn't want to fight with Yuan Kong. Of course, Mo Qingyun's words were more of a tease to Yuan Kong. However, although everyone knew that Mo Qingyun was teasing Yuan Kong, they couldn't say anything bad about Mo Qingyun. Firstly, with Mo Qingyun's cultivation at the intermediate stage of the immortal fog realm, if he really fought with Yuan Kong with all his strength, he would be a real fool. This battle was originally not a fair contest, so there was no need to continue. Secondly, Mo Qingyun's words were not false. He had indeed fought with others many times just now, so it was normal for him to use up a lot of his spiritual energy. After all, no matter how powerful Mo Qingyun was, he was only at the intermediate stage of the immortal fog realm. After so many battles just now, it was normal for him to use up his spiritual energy. Of course, Mo Qingyun's current excuse was only enough to deceive the people from the surrounding great clans. However, it would be difficult for him to deceive Shering Feng and the other two. Shering Feng and the other two had seen the video of him fighting in the ethereal immortal abode, so they knew how powerful he really was. The reason why he didn't fight with Yuan Kong now was definitely not because he didn't have enough spiritual energy, but because he had other thoughts. The reason why this little guy didn't fight with Yuan Kong is probably to hide his true strength, just like how he didn't challenge the 6th stage of the 5th level of the ethereal immortal abode. This little guy hid his strength too well. Even after observing him for so long, I still couldn't see through him. Same for me. However, in my opinion, this little guy's true strength shouldn't be weaker than Yuan Kang's. Don't worry. If Qingyun wants to participate in the Three Realms Immortal Gathering selection, he will have to use his true strength. That's true. Let him hide his strength for a while. At this moment, Shering Feng and the other two revealed cunning smiles as they silently plotted against Mo Qingyun. After Shering Feng and the other two exchanged a few words, they gave Bai Kang a look, indicating that he could announce the end of the sparring. Since Mo Qingyun's spiritual energy is running out, the sparring will end here. Seeing the look in Shering Feng and the other two's eyes, Bai Kang announced to the crowd. He pointed to a hall filled with food and wine and said, "In this case, the apprenticeship's ceremony will end here. Everyone, please follow me to the Jade Food Hall. I will set up a banquet to entertain everyone." After Bai Kang finished speaking, he arranged for everyone to enter the Jade Food Hall for the banquet. Chapter 1294. After a few hours, the banquet finally ended, and the people who came to congratulate them left one after another. After everyone left, Mo Qingyun was taken away by Shering Feng and the other two to Shering Feng's residence. After bringing Mo Qingyun to his residence, Shering Feng did not beat around the bush and directly asked Mo Qingyun, "Qingyun, the Three Realms Immortal Gathering that is held once every 1,000 years in the Eternal South Celestial Realm, the Eastern Dawn Celestial Realm, and the Ling Shuang Celestial Realm will be held next month. Are you interested in participating? Three Realms Immortal Gathering?" Mo Qingyun was puzzled when he heard this. He was curious about the Three Realms Immortal Gathering and said in a deep voice, "Master, please tell me more about the Three Realms Immortal Gathering." Shering Feng and the other two's expressions changed slightly when they heard Mo Qingyun's request. They began to explain the Three Realms Immortal Gathering to Mo Qingyun. The Three Realms Immortal Gathering is actually a test for the younger generation's cultivation by the Celestial Palaces and the great clans of the three Celestial Realms. Shering Feng's expression turned serious after he briefly explained the Three Realms Immortal Gathering. He looked at Mo Qingyun and said solemnly, "In the past, the younger generation who obtained good results would be rewarded. However, the rewards for this year's Three Realms Immortal Gathering will be very different from the previous ones." Shering Feng's expression turned serious when he said this. Mo Qingyun's expression also turned serious when he saw Shering Feng's expression. He waited for Shering Feng to continue. Under Mo Qingyun's gaze, Shering Feng paused for a moment before he said, "After some discussion, the three Celestial Palaces and the great clans have decided to reward the winner of the Three Realms Immortal Gathering with 10 million streams of incense power. The winner of the Three Realms Immortal Gathering will be rewarded with 3 million streams of incense power. The winner of the Three Realms Immortal Gathering will be rewarded with 1 million streams of incense power each. The champion of this year's Three Realms Immortal Gathering is actually rewarded with 10 million Joss flames." After hearing Shering Feng's words, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed a shocked expression. He was very tempted by the power of 10 million incense sticks. If he could obtain the power of 10 million joss flames, he would be able to shorten the distance between him and the 9 heavenly stars. After thinking about this, Mo Qingyun decided that he had to participate in the 3 realms immortal gathering. Seeing Mo Qingyun's astonished expression and sitting there for a long time without saying anything, Shi Yingfeng revealed an expectant expression and said, "Qingyun, what do you think about participating in the 3 realms immortal gathering?" Reporting to Master, this disciple is willing to participate. Upon hearing Shi Yingfeng's question, Mo Qingyun's expression turned serious as he replied firmly. Upon seeing Mo Qingyun's reaction, Shi Yingfeng and the other 2 immediately looked at each other with knowing smiles on their faces. Just as the 3 of them had guessed, Mo Qingyun had indeed decided to participate after hearing about the 3 realms immortal gathering. Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's decision, Bai Jianying smiled faintly and said to Mo Qingyun, "Qingyun, due to the limited number of people participating in the 3 realms immortal gathering, the Immortal Palace will only select 10 disciples to participate. If you want to participate in the 3 realms immortal gathering, you'll have to go through a competition." When Bai Jianying said this, a meaningful smile immediately appeared on his face. Hearing Bai Jianying's words, Shi Yingfeng and Shi Tongqing, who were next to her, revealed the same expression. In their opinion, as long as he participated in the competition, his hidden strength would be exposed. After all, the disciples who were qualified to participate in the 3 realms immortal gathering were all at the great circle of the immortal infant stage. Mo Qingyun did not know what Shi Yingfeng and the other 2 were thinking. Upon hearing their words, he nodded and said, "This disciple is willing to give it a try. May I know when the selection for participating in the 3 realms immortal gathering will be held?" In 20 days, the Immortal Palace will hold a selection to select the 10 disciples who will participate in the 3 realms immortal gathering. Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's question, Shi Yingfeng explained to Mo Qingyun and said, "Therefore, if you want to increase your chances in the selection, you have to make the best use of your time to cultivate during these 20 days. This disciple understands." Upon hearing Shi Yingfeng's instructions, Mo Qingyun nodded solemnly and made some plans in his heart. He decided to strive to improve his cultivation during these 20 days and enter the later stage of the Immortal Fog stage. At this moment, just as Mo Qingyun was making plans, Bai Jianying smiled faintly and said, "Qingyun, in order to give you more time, you will stay in my residence for the next 20 days. I will activate the 25 times time shifting formation for you." 25 times time shifting formation. Upon hearing Bai Jianying's words, Mo Qingyun revealed a surprised expression. He did not expect such a formation to be set up in Bai Jianying's residence. However, after a brief moment of surprise, Mo Qingyun rejected the idea of going to Bai Jianying's residence to cultivate. Although the time-shifting formation in Bai Jianying's residence was of a higher level than the time-shifting formation in the 5-directional small pagoda, Mo Qingyun could not use it to cultivate. This was because Mo Qingyun had to refine a large amount of God Clan blood if he wanted to quickly improve his cultivation. Wasn't refining the God Clan blood in Bai Jianying's residence the same as running to his death? Mo Qingyun would not do such a thing. Although the efficiency of cultivating in the 5-directional small pagoda would be lower, at least it was safer. After thinking about this, Mo Qingyun shook his head at Bai Jianying and said, "Master, I appreciate your kindness. However, I have my own plans regarding my cultivation." After hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Bai Jianying could not help but fall silent. She did not force Mo Qingyun to do so. In her opinion, Mo Qingyun did not want to go to her place to cultivate because he wanted to hide some secrets. Although Mo Qingyun's actions were somewhat inappropriate, everyone had their own ambitions after all. She could not force Mo Qingyun to do so. After discussing the matter of participating in the 3 realms immortal gathering, Mo Qingyun asked Shi Feng and the other two some questions regarding the cultivation of immortal techniques, divine abilities, and formations. Shi Feng and the other two patiently explained to Mo Qingyun's questions until Mo Qingyun completely understood them. After receiving Shi Feng and the other two's analysis and guidance, Mo Qingyun's train of thought immediately opened up. All the doubts in his heart were resolved. At this moment, Mo Qingyun truly realized the importance of having a powerful master. Although the cultivation methods of Shi Feng and the other two's might not be very suitable for him, their cultivation experience was very valuable. Just like that, Mo Qingyun and the other three's conversation lasted for nearly 20 hours. After resolving all the doubts in his heart, Mo Qingyun did not continue to stay. He stood up and returned to Qingyun's residence. Chapter 1295. As Mo Qingyun continued to refine the God Clan's blood, his cultivation rose along with it. 5 days later, the aura emitted from Mo Qingyun's body had reached the peak of the middle stage of the immortal fog realm. Not only did Mo Qingyun's cultivation not stop at the peak of the middle stage of the immortal fog realm, but he worked even harder to refine the God Clan's blood. Mo Qingyun thought to himself, intending to use this momentum to break through to the late stage of the immortal fog realm in one go. Another 2 days passed, and under Mo Qingyun's crazy cultivation, his cultivation finally entered the late stage of the immortal fog realm. In the blink of an eye, 20 days passed. After 20 days of continuous cultivation, Mo Qingyun's cultivation not only broke through to the late stage of the immortal fog realm, but also entered the peak stage of the immortal fog realm. Mo Qingyun was very satisfied with such a speed of improvement, and a happy smile appeared on his face. While Mo Qingyun was happy, he also felt a sense of regret. He sighed and said, "It's a pity that it's too late. Otherwise, I could directly break through to the immortal dew realm." Since 20 days have passed, the three realms' immortal gatherings quota assessment must have begun. Thinking of this, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated. His figure moved, and he left the 5 directions small pagoda. After leaving the 5 directions small pagoda, Mo Qingyun's footsteps did not stop, and he directly rushed to Shi Feng's residence. On the way to Shi Feng's residence, Mo Qingyun slightly sealed a small part of his current cultivation. Immediately, Mo Qingyun's cultivation seemed to be only at the peak of the middle stage of the immortal fog realm. Mo Qingyun did this because she was thinking that breaking through a minor level in just 20 days was too frightening a speed of improvement. If Shi Feng and the other two saw his progress, they would definitely ask him about it, which would cause some unnecessary trouble. Therefore, in order to prevent Bai Jianying and the others from questioning him later, it was necessary for him to seal a portion of his cultivation. When Mo Qingyun arrived at Shi Feng's residence, Shi Tongqing and Bai Jianying had already arrived and were waiting for him with Shi Feng. Seeing Mo Qingyun arrive at his residence, Shi Feng revealed a brilliant smile and jokingly said to Mo Qingyun, "Boy, if you didn't come, the 3 of us would have thought that you didn't dare to participate in the 3 realms' immortal gatherings examination. Due to cultivation, I was delayed for some time." In response to Shi Feng's joke, Mo Qingyun had an awkward expression on his face as he responded with an embarrassed smile. Hearing Mo Qingyun's answer, Shi Feng and the other 2 released their soul powers to sense Mo Qingyun's cultivation base, the peak of the middle stage of the immortal fog realm. Sensing the change in Mo Qingyun's cultivation base, Shi Feng and the other 2 were surprised and couldn't help but take a few more glances at Mo Qingyun. From their expressions, it could be seen that the 3 of them were greatly surprised by Mo Qingyun's cultivation speed. Seeing the reaction of Shi Feng and the other 2, Mo Qingyun felt a sense of relief. Fortunately, he had concealed some of his cultivation base before coming here. Otherwise, if Shi Feng and the other 2 knew that his cultivation base had entered the peak stage of the immortal fog realm, they would definitely ask him a lot of questions. The peak of the middle stage of the immortal fog realm. Not bad, not bad. After learning about Mo Qingyun's current cultivation base, Jianying showed a gratified smile and praised Mo Qingyun. Then she said, "It seems that I worried too much before. I didn't expect that you could have such an amazing cultivation speed without the help of the time-shifting formation. In fact, I also used the time-shifting formation, but the level of the time-shifting formation I arranged was not as high as the level of the time-shifting formation of Master." In response to Bai Jianying's words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and simply explained to her. In Mo Qingyun's view, after his explanation, the improvement of his cultivation base was more reasonable. Sure enough, after hearing Mo Qingyun's explanation, the surprise of Bai Jianying and the other two eased. However, at this time, Bai Jianying was curious and asked Mo Qingyun again, "I didn't expect you to know how to arrange the time-shifting formation. I wonder how many times the speed of the time-shifting formation you arranged was?" Hearing Bai Jianying's question, Shi Feng and the other two were curious. They also wanted to know how many times the speed of the time-shifting formation Mo Qingyun had arranged. Under the gaze of Shi Feng and the other two, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and replied, "The time-shifting formation I arranged was only 20 times the speed of the time-shifting formation." 20 times the speed of the time-shifting formation? Hearing Mo Qingyun's answer, Bai Jianying and the other two were stunned and looked at Mo Qingyun in shock. It should be known that with Bai Jianying's cultivation at the Golden Celestial stage, she could only arrange the time-shifting formation with 25 times the speed of the time-shifting formation. Mo Qingyun, a guy at the middle stage of the Immortal Fog Realm, could arrange the time-shifting formation with 20 times the speed of the time-shifting formation. You're really... Looking at Mo Qingyun in front of him, Bai Jianying's face was full of shock and surprise. He stuttered for a long time without saying a word. At this moment, he could no longer find any words to describe Mo Qingyun's talent in formation. Let's go to the immortal martial field so that the other disciples won't be anxious. Seeing that Bai Jianying was speechless, Shi Tongqing gestured to the others and walked forward quickly. Seeing that Shi Tongqing was the first to walk out, Mo Qingyun and the others did not hesitate and followed him to the immortal martial field. The immortal martial field was not far from Shi Yingfeng's residence. After walking for half an hour, Mo Qingyun and the other three arrived at the immortal martial field. When Mo Qingyun arrived at the immortal martial field, there were already many people there, including the disciples and elders of the Eternal South Immortal Palace. Ancestor. Seeing that Shi Feng and the other two had arrived, everyone showed a respectful expression and bowed to Shi Feng and the other two. No need to be so polite. Shi Feng and the other two waved their hands indifferently at the crowd's greetings. They quickly walked towards a viewing platform. Seeing that Shi Feng and the other two had walked to the viewing platform, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and walked toward the crowd of disciples in the immortal martial field. Seeing that Mo Qingyun was walking toward them, the disciples were envious and looked at Mo Qingyun with complicated expressions. Mo Qingyun's luck was really too good. He had just arrived at the Eternal South Immortal Palace, and he was already recognized by the three ancestors. From now on, his status in the Eternal South Immortal Palace would reach the sky in a single bound. Some disciples who did not have high status in the Eternal South Immortal Palace hurriedly smiled and bowed to Mo Qingyun when they saw Mo Qingyun walking toward them. Mo Qingyun smiled faintly in response to these people's actions and nodded in response to each of them. After a while, Mo Qingyun stopped beside a disciple of the Immortal Infant Banner and waited for the elder's instructions. Not long after Mo Qingyun's arrival, a few more disciples came and stopped beside Mo Qingyun and the others. Chapter 1296. Since all the disciples participating in the Three Realms Immortal Gatherings examination are here, The examination for the Three Realms Immortal Gathering will now officially begin. Seeing that all the disciples participating in the examination had arrived, an elder on the viewing platform walked forward with a solemn expression and said in a deep voice, "Now, I will explain the rules of the examination to everyone. Since there are many disciples participating in the examination, the first round will be a selection and elimination battle. Only 100 disciples will be able to advance. Only 100 disciples would be able to advance." After hearing the elder's words, all the disciples revealed solemn expressions and felt an enormous pressure in their hearts. The number of disciples participating in the Three Realms Immortal Gatherings examination was close to 3,000, but only 100 people would be able to advance in the first round. Didn't this mean that 2,900 people would be eliminated in the first round of the examination? The elimination rate of this examination was quite cruel. After briefly explaining the elimination rules, the elder spread his hands and gestured for everyone to remain silent. He then said, "Next, we will erect 100 Immortal Ascension Pillars in the Immortal Martial Field. Those who can defend the Immortal Ascension Pillars will advance, and those who cannot will be eliminated." After saying this, the elder's expression became even more solemn. He then said, "Everyone will only have one chance to snatch the Immortal Ascension Pillar. If you fail, you will be eliminated. In addition, if someone can withstand 30 attacks, it means that they have successfully defended the Immortal Ascension Pillar and advanced to the second round of the examination." After hearing the elder's explanation, everyone's expression became even more solemn. They once again understood the cruelty of the Immortal Ascension Pillar competition. Based on the elder's words, if you wanted to defend the Immortal Ascension Pillar, you might have to endure 30 attacks in a row. This was an extremely difficult task. This was because the more you defended the Immortal Ascension Pillar, the greater the consumption of spiritual energy in your body, and the more difficult it would be to defend the Immortal Ascension Pillar. At this moment, just as everyone was worried that they would not have enough spiritual energy to defend the Immortal Ascension Pillar, the elder added, "Also, if you successfully defend the Immortal Ascension Pillar, you will have 2 hours to recover. During these 2 hours, no one will be able to challenge you." Hearing the elder's words, everyone's expressions became much more relaxed. This way, defending the Immortal Ascension Pillar was more reasonable. At this moment, the elder on the viewing platform suddenly threw out a golden scroll that emitted a dazzling light. After the golden scroll flew out, it expanded at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, it turned into a golden scroll that was 100 meters long. It was tightly attached to a huge stone wall. This is the Immortal Martial Combat Strength Index. It clearly describes the combat strength index of each of you. It will make it easier for you to find opponents. After throwing out the golden scroll, the elder explained to the crowd. Then he changed the topic and said, "Also, if you fail the test, your names will disappear from the Immortal Martial Combat Strength ranking." After hearing the elder's words, all the disciples looked at the Celestial Martial Combat Prowess rankings to check the battle situation of each person. Mo Qingyun, Combat Power 8200, rank 27. Glancing at the Immortal Martial Battle Prowess rankings, Mo Qingyun saw his own ranking and battle prowess. After seeing his ranking in combat strength, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly. He was a little surprised by his ranking in combat strength. He did not expect that he would be ranked 27 on the Immortal Martial Battle Prowess rankings, with his peak intermediate stage, Immortal Martial Cultivation. After a brief moment of surprise, a faint smile appeared on Mo Qingyun's face as he silently cursed in his heart. This was not his true strength. However, Mo Qingyun did not mind. It was always good to leave some leeway. After seeing his own combat strength, Mo Qingyun looked at the combat strength of the top 10 people. Rank 1, Chun Qing, Combat Power 10,000. Rank 2, Yuan Kong, Combat Power 970. Rank 3, Miao Tai, Combat Power 960. Rank 4, Yu Gan, Combat Power 940. Rank 5, Wang Chunwei, Combat Power 9020. Rank 6, Li Zhengquan, combat power 890. 7th place, Wang Yuan, combat power 8,910. Rank 8, Huang Guanjuan, combat power 840. Rank 9, Sun Qinshan, combat power 830. Rank 10, Xia Yuanwen, combat power 840. Mo Qingyun's gaze swept over the top 10 people. Not a single one of them was missing out on the battle prowess of the top 10. It seems like the gap between everyone's strength is not that big. After looking at the combat strength of the top 10 people, Mo Qingyun had a rough idea of everyone's strength. Although this was only the surface strength, it was still a measure. Who did not have a trump card? Boom, boom, boom. While Mo Qingyun and the rest were looking at the immortal martial battle prowess rankings, pillars with a diameter of about 5 meters emerged from the ground like bamboo shoots after a rain. Soon, 100 huge golden pillars appeared in front of Mo Qingyun and the rest. These were the Immortal Ascension Pillars. The Immortal Ascension Pillars have been erected. You can start fighting for it. After erecting the Immortal Ascension Pillars, the elder on the viewing platform immediately instructed Mo Qingyun and the rest. After hearing the elder's words, everyone immediately rushed towards the Immortal Ascension Pillars. They wanted to be the first to fight for control of the Immortal Ascension Pillars. While everyone was fighting for control of the Immortal Ascension Pillars, Mo Qingyun did not rush to fight for the control of the Immortal Ascension Pillars. Instead, he stood in place with an indifferent look on his face. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, even if they managed to obtain the Immortal Ascension Pillars, it would be useless. Would they be able to defend it? If they did not have absolute confidence in defending the Immortal Ascension Pillars, it would be a waste of their spiritual energy to fight for the Immortal Ascension Pillars. Bang! 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 Due to the limited number of Immortal Ascension Pillars, the competition was undoubtedly very intense. The aftermath of the battles came one after another, wave after wave. Soon, a portion of the disciples were seriously injured and could no longer fight for the Immortal Ascension Pillars. They had all been eliminated. Soon, all 100 Immortal Ascension Pillars were occupied. Among them, there were those who were ranked at the top and those who were not that outstanding. Now that the Immortal Ascension Pillars had been fought for, it was time to defend the Immortal Ascension Pillars. Soon after, everyone chose which Immortal Ascension Pillar they wanted to attack based on the Immortal Martial Combat Power Rankings. Following that, a very strange scene occurred. The Immortal Ascension Pillars of the top 10 rankers were basically ignored by everyone. As for the Immortal Ascension Pillars of those who were ranked at the bottom, they were constantly challenged, and the number of Immortal Ascension Pillars kept changing. After a few hours, under the continuous challenge of the crowd, another batch of disciples was eliminated. Now, the number of disciples left was less than 1,000. Chapter 1297. Although more and more people were being eliminated, Mo Qingyun still did not make a move. He only looked at the people in front of him calmly. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Shi Feng revealed a gratified smile. He nodded and praised. Qingyun, this brat, is really patient. He hasn't rushed to make a move yet. However, the further we go, the harder it will be to compete for the Immortal Ascension Pillars. I'm afraid this won't be good for him. At this moment, Shi Feng was a little anxious for Mo Qingyun. He was worried that Mo Qingyun would meet strong opponents in the later stages. After all, once someone was able to withstand 30 challenges, he would be considered to have successfully defended his Immortal Ascension Pillar. Furthermore, those who were challenged more often in the early stages were the weaker ones. If these weaker people successfully defended their Immortal Ascension Pillars, they would be able to challenge stronger people in the later stages. Therefore, the later the stage, the opponents they could choose to challenge would be stronger. It would be harder to succeed in a challenge. Don't worry, with Qingyun's strength, it won't be difficult for him to win an Immortal Ascension Pillar. Bai Jinying smiled faintly at Shi Feng's worries. She was not worried about Mo Qingyun at all. Hearing Bai Jinying's words, Shi Tongqing nodded his head in agreement and said, "From what I see, Qing Yun is doing this because he doesn't want to be challenged continuously after he wins the Immortal Ascension Pillar. Therefore, he is planning to make a move at the end." Hearing Shi Tongqing's analysis, Shi Yingfeng's eyes lit up. He felt that Shi Tongqing's analysis was very reasonable. Following this, Shi Yingfeng and the other two silently observed Mo Qingyun. They wanted to see what Mo Qingyun would do in the end. As time passed, more and more people were eliminated. After another hour, there were less than 500 disciples left in the immortal martial arts arena. At this moment, everyone seemed to be panicking. They no longer blindly challenged others. Instead, they waited for others to make the first move. Since no one is going to make a move, let me do it. Seeing that no one was going to make a move, Mo Qingyun did not waste any more time. He smiled faintly and took a step forward. Seeing Mo Qingyun walk out, Yuan Kong, who was standing on the Immortal Ascension Pillar, said mockingly, "Mo Qingyun, you're finally willing to come out. Do you want me to give the Immortal Ascension Pillar to you?" "No. Of course, I could do it myself." In response to Yuan Kang's mockery, Mo Qingyun, and he looked at the 100 Immortal Martial Arts Pillars. Seeing Mo Qingyun's behavior, a late-stage Immortal Nascent Realm youth said with a mocking expression, "Mo Qingyun, you didn't appreciate seeing your brother Yuan Kang's good intentions. This is the biggest mistake you've made. It will lead to your elimination." "Really?" "That's not what I think." Mo Qingyun, hearing the youth's words, replied faintly. He smiled meaningfully and said, "Since that's the case, I'll let you experience for yourself how I'm going to take down your Immortal Ascension Pillar." Invincible. As Mo Qingyun's words fell, he released an astonishing fighting spirit, causing others to shrink back at the sight of him. After releasing his fighting spirit, Mo Qingyun raised his hand and grasped the immortal burning battle halberd tightly in his hand. Mo Qingyun took out the immortal burning battle halberd. He turned into a red ray of light and charged towards the youth. Heavenly Flame's sky-breaking halberd. As Mo Qingyun charged towards his opponent, he also slashed out with his halberd, releasing a wave of overbearing spiritual energy. Once this spiritual power was released, it quickly condensed into the shadow of a dragon and charged towards the young man. I, Ren Limping, am not one of those good-for-nothings. You can't defeat me." Facing Mo Qingyun's attack, the youth revealed a confident expression and immediately took out two hook-shaped weapons. Immortal Technique Blood Pool Chains. Ren Limping brandished the double hook weapon and immediately released a rich blood chi spiritual force, which turned into two blood-red chains. After the two chains were released, they wrapped around the fire dragon halberd radiance and tied it up like a dumpling. Roar, roar. Bound by the two chains, the fire dragon halberd radiance kept twisting its body. However, it was unable to break free from the blood-colored chains. Seeing that Mo Qingyun's attack was easily neutralized by his own attack, Ren Limping revealed a cold smile and said proudly, "Mo Qingyun, although your comprehension and cultivation talent are not something that I, Ren Limping, can compare to, this year's Three Realms Immortal Gathering is not your stage. You better go home and drink milk for a few more years. Ren Limping, you should go read more books and learn what it means when extreme joy begets sorrow." Looking at the proud Ren Limping, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and shook his head. With a mocking expression, he said, "I was just playing with you with my halberd. Did you really take it seriously?" Great heavenly demon finger. As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he put away his immortal burning battle halberd and raised his hand to point at Ren Limping. When Mo Qingyun's finger shot out, the sky above the immortal martial arena suddenly turned dark. It was as if a storm was approaching. Boom, boom, boom. After the clouds gathered, a series of lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, producing a series of low rumbling sounds. The dark clouds in the sky that were surging with lightning slowly cracked open, and a huge finger flew out. When the finger flew out from the dark clouds, it emitted a terrifying demonic aura that enveloped Ren Junping, who was on the immortal ascension pillar below. So powerful. Feeling the power of the great heavenly demon finger, the surrounding people's expressions began to tremble. A chill ran down their spines. They thought that if they were facing Mo Qingyun's finger, they might not be able to handle it. Soon after, everyone revealed sympathetic gazes as they turned to look at Ren Junping, who was at the side. This guy had shot himself in the foot this time. Why did he provoke Mo Qingyun for no reason? Looking at the surrounding people's gazes, Ren Junping immediately felt belittled and humiliated. He shouted angrily, "You were testing me just now? Did you think I wasn't testing you? Ren Junping, can handle this move of yours. Immortal technique, blood lock heaven and earth." Under Ren Junping's attack, the two hooks in his hands were thrown out. They spun rapidly in the air. As the hooks spun, waves of terrifying blood-colored spiritual energy exploded from them and formed a hemispherical shield. Boom! When the blood-colored shield was formed, the great heavenly demon finger hit it, creating an earth-shattering sound. When a loud sound was heard, the entire immortal martial arena shook. One must know that the immortal martial arena had been stabilized by many true immortal realm powerhouses. From this, one could see how intense the battle between Mo Qingyun and the immortal ascension pillar was. Soon, a dazzling light bloomed above Ren Junping, swallowing him and the immortal ascension pillar. Chapter 1298. After a while, the storm of spiritual energy dissipated, revealing Ren Limping on the immortal martial platform. Ren Limping's clothes were in tatters, and he looked like a pile of mud. His breathing was weak as he lay on the immortal martial platform. After seeing this scene, everyone's expressions suddenly trembled as they looked at Mo Qingyun in the air with reverence. Too domineering. With just one finger, he severely injured Ren Limping, who was ranked 54th on the immortal martial combat prowess list. This kind of combat prowess was comparable to the top 10. Who would have thought that Mo Qingyun, who was only in the intermediate stage of the immortal fog realm, would have such terrifying strength? Then, under everyone's gaze, Mo Qingyun slowly flew to the immortal ascension pillar. He lifted his leg and kicked Ren Limping, who was like a dead dog, down. Plop! Seeing Ren Limping being kicked down by Mo Qingyun and landing heavily on the ground, everyone's heart trembled. This Mo Qingyun really did not show any mercy when making a move. Was he not afraid of Ren Limping falling to his death? After kicking Ren Limping off the immortal ascension platform, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile. He turned his head to look at Yuan Kong and asked, "How was it?" Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's provocative words, Yuan Kong snorted coldly with a displeased expression. Unwilling to be outdone, he replied, "I merely defeated Ren Limping. If you really have the ability, you can come and find me for a fight." After Yuan Kong said this, the expressions of the surrounding people immediately became tense. Yuan Kong was openly provoking Mo Qingyun. Would Mo Qingyun accept his challenge? No rush. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Under everyone's gazes, Mo Qingyun revealed a calm expression. He shook his head with a faint smile and said, "Besides, I just went through a fierce battle and consumed a lot of my spiritual force. It's better to wait for me to recover before fighting again." Went through an intense battle. With just one finger, he beat his opponent to the ground. How could that be considered an intense battle? Everyone was speechless at Mo Qingyun's lame excuse. They all thought that this guy was too fake. However, they did not criticize Mo Qingyun's excuse. After all, Yuan Kang's strength was obvious to all. He was ranked second on the immortal martial combat prowess list. There was no need for Mo Qingyun to risk his life and fight with him just because he was angry. If that was the case, then it could only be said that Mo Qingyun was too inexperienced. Just because of a few provocative words from Yuan Kong, he had lost his mind and lost his mind, which was exactly what Yuan Kong wanted. Of course, no one thought that Mo Qingyun was afraid of Yuan Kong. He just didn't want to pay attention to him. You. Seeing Qing Yun find this excuse again, Yuan Kong was so angry that his teeth itched, as if he was being played. From his point of view, Qing Yun's actions were clearly toying with him. He was indirectly telling him that Qing Yun, would not fight with him. What could Yuan Kong do to him? Yuan Kang's face was filled with anger. He gritted his teeth and glared at Qing Yun. Then, he said, Qing Yun, you better not meet me in the second round. When Yuan Kong said this, Qing Yun was already sitting cross-legged on the Immortal Ascension pillar. He had entered a state of recovery. In other words, Qing Yun didn't hear Yuan Kang's angry words at all. Seeing this scene, the anger on Yuan Kang's face could not help but become even more intense. He had been toyed with by Qing Yun time and time again. More importantly, because of Qing Yun's special status, he could not openly teach Qing Yun a lesson. This feeling of forcefully enduring was too unbearable. When he saw Qing Yun sitting down to recover, Yuan Kong snorted unhappily. Then, he ignored Qing Yun. Perhaps it was because of Qing Yun's amazing performance just now, but everyone consciously ignored him from the list of people who were going to challenge him. Regarding this situation, Qing Yun was happy to be free. It would save him some unnecessary trouble. As time passed, more and more disciples were eliminated. After another 2 hours, the first round of assessment finally ended. The 100 disciples who had advanced appeared. Everyone, rest for an hour. Then, we will begin the second round of assessment. When he saw that the first round of assessment had ended, the elder walked out again and instructed the crowd. When they heard the elder's instructions, Qing Yun and the rest began to recover and prepare for the second round of assessment. Everyone knew that the second round of assessment would be more severe than the first round. This was because those who could make it to the second round were basically the best in the Immortal Palace. None of them could be underestimated. 2 hours passed very quickly. When the rest time was over, the elder stood out again and said to the crowd in a deep voice, "The second round of assessment is very simple. The 100 disciples will be divided into 10 groups of 10. Then, one person from each group will be selected to advance." When they heard this, everyone's expression turned serious. They felt a strong pressure. While the crowd was feeling pressured, the elder did not stop talking. He continued, "The disciples in the top 10 of the Immortal Martial Combat Power list are very powerful. To prevent them from fighting each other and causing the elimination of experts, the 10 of them will be divided into 10 groups. The other 90 will draw lots." When they heard the elder's words, the top 10 disciples' expressions relaxed. It seemed that they did not want to meet each other. Compared to the top 10 disciples, the rest of them were feeling very heavy. The pressure in their hearts had increased. In this way, the last bit of hope in their hearts was instantly wiped out. Now, all they could think of was to not meet Qing, Yuan Kong, and Miao Luo. Otherwise, they wouldn't even have the slightest hope of advancing. At this moment, Qing Yun's mood was similar to the others. He did not want to meet Qing and the rest. This was because once he met Qing and the rest, it would be difficult for him to hide his strength. After a while, Qing Yun took out a jade token from the lot box. 10. When he saw the number on the token, Qing Yun could not help but relax. He was in the 10th group. This meant that he was in the same group as Xia Yuanwen. As long as he could defeat Xia Yuanwen, he would be able to advance. My luck is not bad. Looking at the token in his hand, Qing Yun smiled faintly. He was very satisfied with this result. At this moment, when Qing Yun smiled faintly, the surrounding disciples were secretly happy. Some were disappointed. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, when the crowd was drawing lots, the pillars of ascension suddenly moved. In a short while, the 100 pillars of ascension were divided into 10 groups. Each group of 10 pillars of ascension formed a huge platform with numbers from 1 to 10 on it. Chapter 1299. The platforms formed by these immortal ascension pillars will be your battlegrounds. After forming the immortal ascension pillars into 10 huge platforms, the elder spoke to Mo Qingyun and the rest with a solemn expression. He then said, "The last person left on the platform will be the winner of this round. Now, you may go up the platform." After the elder finished speaking, Mo Qingyun and the rest stood up and flew towards their respective platforms. Mo Qingyun, you're lucky that you didn't get to be in the same group as me. When he saw Mo Qingyun standing on platform number 10, Yuan Kang's expression darkened as he spoke angrily. In response to Yuan Kang's actions, Mo Qingyun only smiled faintly and ignored Yuan Kang, who was acting like a mad dog. When he saw that Mo Qingyun ignored him again, Yuan Kang became even angrier. If it wasn't for the fact that they were still in the middle of the assessment, he would have rushed up to Mo Qingyun and fought him. Since that's the case, the second round of the assessment will officially begin. Seeing that everyone was on the battle stage, the elder had a serious expression on his face as he spoke to everyone once again. When the second round of the assessment began, Shering Feng and the rest revealed nervous expressions. They were worried for Mo Qingyun in their hearts. The three of them clearly knew that it wasn't easy to stand out in the second round. This round of assessment wasn't just a test of one's strength. At the same time, it also had a high requirement on one's ability to adapt. It was very likely that when you were fighting with someone, you would suddenly be ambushed by the person beside you and instantly fall into a dangerous situation. If your adaptability wasn't strong enough, you might be seriously injured and be eliminated. I wonder what Qingyun will do in this round of assessment. In my opinion, Qingyun will continue to observe and wait until the end to take advantage of the situation. I don't think so. The other disciples might see that Qingyun is weak and choose to attack him first. We can't rule out this possibility. No matter what, the three of us will wait and see. Looking at Mo Qingyun on the 10th battle platform, Shering Feng and the other two revealed complicated expressions as they focused on Mo Qingyun's situation. On the 10th platform, Mo Qingyun scanned the crowd and knew the situation of the other 9 people. Of the 9 people, Xia Yuanwen was the only one who ranked higher than him. There was another person called Xiao Xinglei who was also ranked ahead of him. He was ranked 18th on the Celestial Martial Prowess list. As for the remaining 7 people, they were all ranked between the 40th to 70th place, and their strength was on par with Rin Linping. Mo Qingyun scanned the crowd and got a rough idea of the strength of the people before him. Facing these people in front of him, if he did not use his trump card, he could defeat them one by one. If Mo Qingyun used all his trump cards, he would be able to defeat all 9 of them at once. But for the sake of keeping a low profile, Mo Qingyun did not want to do so unless it was absolutely necessary. While Mo Qingyun was sizing up the crowd, they were sizing each other up as well. Their expressions revealed a strong sense of vigilance. Perhaps because of the strength of Mo Qingyun and the other 2, the other 7 consciously gathered together to prevent being defeated one by Mo Qingyun and the other 2. A faint smile appeared on Mo Qingyun's face when he saw this. This was what he wanted to see the most. This way, you would not have to worry about Xia Yuanwen and the other 8 teaming up and forcing him to reveal his trump card. After sizing up the crowd before him, Xia Yuanwen turned his head to look at Mo Qingyun and Xiao Xinglei. He smiled faintly and said, "Junior brothers, why don't the 3 of us join forces and clean up these unnecessary people first?" Okay. Hearing Xia Yuanwen's suggestion, Xiao Xinglei nodded with a smile and agreed with Xia Yuanwen's suggestion. Then, the 2 of them turned to Mo Qingyun and waited for Mo Qingyun's response. Seeing the 2 of them looking at him, Mo Qingyun smiled and nodded at the 2 of them, indicating that he accepted Xia Yuanwen's suggestion. Seeing that Mo Qingyun and the other 2 were about to team up, the other 7 people's faces turned white and a strong sense of fear grew in their hearts. They knew very well that even if the 7 of them teamed up, they would not be able to defeat Mo Qingyun and the other 2. After a short moment of panic, a young man named Han Wuli revealed a cold expression and said angrily, "Oomph! Even if the 7 of us teamed up, we would not be able to defeat the 3 of you. However, under the counterattack of the 7 of us, one of you will be eliminated. This is a matter between the 3 of us. However, no matter who gets eliminated, we will not let you pass." Hearing Han Wu Li's words, Xia Yuanwen smiled mockingly and said coldly, "My 2 juniors, let's not waste any more time. Let's team up and eliminate the 7 of them." After Xia Yuanwen finished speaking, he did not hesitate and rushed towards Han Wu Li and the other 6 people. Seeing that Xia Yuanwen was attacking Han Wu Li and the other 6 people, Xiao Xinglei did not hesitate and also attacked Han Wu Li and the other 6 people. "My fellow seniors, I'm sorry." Seeing Xia Yuanwen and the other 2's actions, Mo Qingyun looked apologetic and also attacked Han Wu Li and the other 6 people. Facing Mo Qingyun and the other 2's attacks, Han Wu Li and the other 6 people were immediately beaten up and could be kicked out of the fighting ring at any time by Mo Qingyun and the other 2. Looking at the performance of Han Wu Li and the other 6 people, if there were no accidents, it was only a matter of time before they were kicked out of the fighting ring. Even if we're going to be eliminated, we will take one of you down with us." Seeing the situation of the 7 people, Han Wu Li's expression was hideous. He glanced at Mo Qingyun and the other 2 and said, "My fellow seniors, this Mo Qingyun has the lowest cultivation level. Before we are eliminated, we will take him down with us." "Okay." The other 6 people responded and attacked Mo Qingyun together. Xia Yuanwen and Xiao Xinglei both smiled coldly when they saw the reaction of Han Wu Li and the other 6. Their expressions revealed a gloating expression. In their opinion, it was a good thing to be able to eliminate Mo Qingyun in such a way. Immediately, Xia Yuanwen and Xiao Xinglei smiled tacitly and hit Mo Qingyun when he was down. They said, "Junior Mo, I'm sorry, you have to be eliminated first." Seeing Xia Yuanwen and Xiao Xinglei's actions, Mo Qingyun immediately frowned and looked angry. He really did not expect Xia Yuanwen and Xiao Xinglei to be so despicable and choose to attack him at this time. Otherwise, after a short moment of surprise, Mo Qingyun's expression returned to normal. Although the worst situation had happened, Mo Qingyun was not afraid. At most, he would have to expose his trump card. Demon Shadow Traceless, Body Following Heart. Immediately, Mo Qingyun's body turned into a shadow and instantly avoided the attack of Xia Yuanwen and the other 6 people. He said to the people around him in a deep voice, "Junior apprentice brothers, Mo Qingyun's strength is tricky and strange. We have to join forces to defeat him. Only then will we have a chance to advance. Otherwise, I will be defeated by him one by one." After Xia Yuanwen's words, Xiao Xinglei also showed a dignified expression. He quickly said to Han Wu Li and the others, "Senior apprentice brother Xia is right. We should eliminate Mo Qingyun first. This is the safest way for us." Hearing Xia Yuanwen and Xiao Xinglei's words, Han Wu Li and the others kept nodding. They felt that Xia Yuanwen and Xiao Xinglei's words were reasonable. With Mo Qingyun's amazing strength, if they fought against Mo Qingyun alone, they would definitely be defeated by Mo Qingyun without any suspense. Senior apprentice brother Xia and senior apprentice brother Xiao are right. We have to eliminate Mo Qingyun first. Only then will we have a chance to advance. Also, Mo Qingyun is an immortal fog stage cultivator. How can we let him advance? Yes, if we let Mo Qingyun advance, where will the faces of us immortal infant stage cultivators go? At this moment, Xia Yuanwen and the others were united against a common enemy. They wanted to eliminate Mo Qingyun first. Looking at Xia Yuanwen and the others' performance, he suddenly had the urge to laugh. He said with a disdainful expression, "You guys still know that you are at the immortal infant stage. A group of immortal infant stage cultivators joining forces to deal with me, an immortal fog stage cultivator. What a glorious thing. Special circumstances require special treatment. Moreover, You are not an ordinary immortal fog stage cultivator. All right, junior apprentice brothers, no need to talk nonsense with him. Let's eliminate him together. Xia Yuan and the others discussed. They did not waste any more time and began to attack Mo Qingyun. A motley crew, looking at Xia Yuan and the others who were attacking him. Mo Qingyun showed a cold expression and released a shocking battle intent. Invincible, blood chi berserk. Mo Qingyun made a move and successively displayed two great magical powers to increase his battle strength. Soon, the aura that Mo Qingyun exuded rose again and instantly rushed into the Immortal Dew stage. Immortal Dew stage. Mo Qingyun's cultivation entered the Immortal Dew stage. Sensing the change in Mo Qingyun's aura, Xia Yuan and the others' expressions immediately trembled. The awe on their faces became stronger. After Mo Qingyun used the two mystiques to increase his battle prowess, he waved the immortal immolation battle halberd and pointed it at Xia Yuan. I, Mo Qingyun, hate two-faced people like you the most. I'll eliminate you first. Golden Snake flashing halberd. As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he stabbed forward with the halberd and his figure disappeared. Mo Qingyun disappeared. Chapter 1301. After sending Xia Yuan flying with his halberd, Mo Qingyun didn't stop. Instead, he returned to the platform. Seeing Mo Qingyun return to the platform, Xiao Shunglei and the others instinctively trembled. Their faces were filled with fear. They had no choice but to be afraid. Even the strongest among them, Xia Yuan, had been eliminated by Mo Qingyun in a domineering manner. Now, there were only 8 of them left. If they were to face Mo Qingyun again, wouldn't it be even more hopeless? Coldly looking at Xiao Shunglei and the others, Mo Qingyun didn't waste time talking nonsense with them. He directly pointed at the 8 of them. Great heavenly demon finger. After Mo Qingyun blasted out with his finger, the color of the sky suddenly changed. Dark clouds gathered at extreme speed. Very quickly, a low rumble of thunder came from the clouds in the sky, and lightning arcs flashed one after another. It was this superpower again. Seeing the dark clouds rapidly gathering in the sky, the surrounding people's faces changed drastically. They looked at Xiao Shunglei and the others with serious expressions. Could the 8 of them block Mo Qingyun's finger? Feeling the terrifying pressure from the sky, Xiao Shunglei and the others moved closer. They looked at the sky with serious expressions and said nervously, "Everyone, don't hold back. Use your strongest moves to block Mo Qingyun's superpower." Soon after, Xiao Shunglei and the others all attacked the huge black finger in the sky. Bang, bang, bang. Soon, Xiao Shunglei and the others' strongest attacks collided with the great heavenly demon finger. Loud bangs were heard. As the bangs were heard, waves of shocking spiritual energy fluctuations erupted in the sky. They instantly swallowed Xiao Shunglei and the others. When the storm engulfed Xiao Shunglei and the others, the great heavenly demon finger also broke through their defense. After breaking through Xiao Shunglei and the others' defense, the great heavenly demon finger's attack didn't decrease in power. It instantly hit Xiao Shunglei and the others. Bang! Another deafening sound rang out, shaking the entire immortal martial arena, causing everyone to feel shocked. Then, everyone showed a nervous expression and stared intently at Platform 10. At this moment, everyone wanted to know if Xiao Shunglei and the others were doing well. A moment later, the storm dissipated, revealing the figures of Xiao Shunglei and the others. At this moment, Xiao Shunglei and the others were in a very sorry state, but their situation was a little better than Ren Linping's. They could still stand up. Seeing Xiao Shunglei and the others in such a state, everyone couldn't help sweating for them. It was good that they were able to keep their lives. Heavenly Flames, Sky-Breaking Halberd. While everyone was rejoicing for Xiao Shunglei and the others, Mo Qingyun once again brandished the immortal burning battle halberd, slashing towards the 8 of them. A playful smile appeared on his face as he muttered to himself, Yuan family, Yin family, and Hunter Change family, if you want to deal with me, I don't mind playing with you. Just as Mo Qingyun was rejoicing in his heart, his expression suddenly turned serious. He thought to himself, although this god of war transformation is very powerful, the amount of immortal spiritual power required while in this state is too great. With my current strength, I'm afraid I can only maintain this state for an hour. After this discovery, Mo Qingyun couldn't help but sigh. It seems that although the god of war transformation is powerful, I can't use it casually. I can only use it as a life-saving measure. Mo Qingyun sighed in his heart. His expression changed as a thought came to his mind. That's right, now that my cultivation has entered the immortal dew stage, I should be able to enter the 4th level of the 5 directions, small pagoda. With this thought in mind, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately headed to the 4th level of the 5 directions, small pagoda. Just as Mo Qingyun had guessed, when he entered the 4th level of the 5 directions, small pagoda, he didn't encounter any obstacles. When he arrived at the 4th level of the 5 directions, small pagoda, Mo Qingyun only saw a simple desk with an ancient scroll on it. 33 Heavens Star Position Chapter. Mo Qingyun picked up the ancient book on the desk, and the words on the cover of the book were imprinted into his eyes. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.